Hey, I'm a Ween. Hey, you're a Ween. And you're watching a screen. Welcome, everyone, to maybe the final episode of Screen Weens, at least for a while. This is episode 190, where we're once again going through our favorite films list. We did this in the first episode. We did this in the 150th episode.
Oh, was it the 150th?
No, just sorry. 50th, not 150th. Which tomorrow, as of recording this, will have been 3 years ago.
The
50th.
Oh.
And then our first episode will turn 5 years old in like 2 weeks.
First episode of the podcast?
Of the podcast. The channel will be 6 years old.
Yeah, it was like 1 year exactly between that and Infinity War and...
yeah, it was literally, I think, the day. Like, to the day.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was, because I remember talking about that.
And I think we decided that, too. We were like, let's just wait.
Yeah, it's like, it's right there. We can make it work. Because that was back when we were still, like, early on in the podcast, we used to stockpile.
Yeah, we were like a week or two ahead, and then we're like, let's do another one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was always weird being like a few weeks ahead. I remember Pierre would be like, I always forget what I ask you guys on the podcast. But, yeah.
Yeah. But
5 years. Man.
5 years. Strong. I always envisioned it would just go on forever.
I know. It's
and
really
in some
sad.
form or another. I'm pretty upset. But
yeah, because I mean, we've had just such like an intimate experience just sharing like movies together and our like journey through it. Even though it's not like exact, like we more or less, it's like if there's something that's like really affecting us, we'll bring it to the show and show the other one. And it's just been such a journey.
Well, we've discovered some of our favorites, both of our favorites. Like I think it's either our number one or it'll be in like our top five. Will be the movie.
Yes.
Also, I'm taking this off. I forgot how uncomfortable this was.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, and I don't know where my old classic iconic hat went, but this will have to make do. It's my work hat. So
it's kind of swag. But yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it. It's just like I was thinking, I'm like, we did this for 5 years, or the podcast for 4 years, which is longer than I worked any job. Like, yeah,
it might just be by just
my first job was 3 years. The one I've been at has been 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that's I put a lot of myself into this, and I learned a lot about myself in this, and doing this consistently for like once a week for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of insane.
Yeah, no, it really is.
And nobody, like 8 people listen to it, so it was all just for us.
Oh, absolutely. But honestly, I don't think I would have had it any other way. Yeah. I mean, an audience would have been nice, but we've probably both said...
There's also no expectations with, like, no audio,
Yeah, I can just say whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about it.
And we also don't, there's no expectations to watch certain things. We're just like, let's watch what we want to watch.
Yeah, usually when we did, like, kind of... Not to, like, real audience expectations, but, like, hey, maybe we can get some algorithm expectations like we did with Wrong Turn, and that episode garnered a lot of clicks. We had those few that would just manage to find their way through, like the Brown Bunny one, our most disliked episode, because it begins with me going, anyone who likes the Brown Bunny is an idiot. And then it's just like,
and then I went, Thomas, I like the Brown Bunny.
And I immediately started backtracking.
And I'm like, no, don't take it back.
But maybe idiot's a strong word. But
I mostly meant moron.
It's a little softer. But, it really has been quite the journey. And I'm glad that out of everyone, I shared it with you.
That means a lot. Yeah. Like I said. But I think the other thing that's been, gnawing at me is I think I've always, like, the friend groups I've had have always been tied to doing something consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're at school, you meet friends there, right? And it's like I was in a band, so I would see them every time we did something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, or like video games, but we were like consistently playing a video game. And I think my friends have always been tied to a specific thing.
Yeah.
And I think in the back of my mind, I don't think this is true, but I think in the back of my mind, I was scared too. I was like, if we stop this, Thomas will no longer be my friend.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. We're always going to be friends. Even if it's like the kind of thing where we might not see each other as frequently. You're always going to hold a special place in my heart, and I will always try to make time for you. So
you will always think of the brown bunny.
I will always think of the brown bunny.
But yeah, just, you know, it's definitely, it's interesting because it's also put a lot of things in perspective for me in the last week, just thinking about stuff. And yeah, it's a sad day, but it's also happy because we're once again going to talk about movies. And we're not going to talk about any bad movies. We're just going to, well, briefly, but we're just going to talk about
movies we like.
Movies we like. Movies we love. A lot of movies that we've watched from here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, definitely.
Let's briefly do it one last time. Thomas, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I beat Miles Morales.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good game.
It's really short.
Yeah, I think the first time I played it, I was a little like, on it. Because I viewed Finn more as like, I guess maybe I was just misinterpreting it the first time, and it hit me a lot stronger on the replay. But like, the first time I was like, I just kept, my brain was like, yeah, Finn is like Miles' love interest, because I just felt like it was supposed to work that way. But then playing the game again, I'm like, there's nothing in there that even, it's a sibling thing. What the hell was I thinking? And I think thematically, it could be.
You love Barry Lyndon.
But I think like, true. But I think through like all this dialogue with like Aaron and all of that, and even like if you play after the game, there's like that bit where you go on like the scavenger hunt.
Yeah, no, I did 100% of that, or at least 100% of the map. So
yeah, so it's like
scavenger hunt was making me sad.
I know, it was making me sad too. I'm like, this is extremely forced, and like it's full of like, I know I'm not gonna be here.
Yeah, but it's still somehow
hit. Yeah. But, yeah, so the themes hit me a lot stronger this time. Also, I don't think I did that scavenger hunt or the other side missions the first time I played the game. There's, like, last two that pop up after you beat the main story. I think I was just like, all right.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, but, yeah, it's good game. Very short. I wish the villain, not Finn, but, like, the other guy maybe had, like, more of an active role in the story. He just kind of feels like a nothing burger, but
yeah, that's why it mostly just feels like DLC. So I'm glad I didn't pay money for it.
True, I did, but I'm kind of glad I did just because I like Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, I just got it on PlayStation. I guess I pay for a monthly subscription, so
yeah. But yeah, aside from that, no, not a whole lot going on. Just working, and I did spend a lot of time trying to figure out my list. And even now, it's like, I feel like I like the movies that are on there, but the order they're in,
like, I think my
be
top,
a little up in the air.
Like, 15 is pretty solid.
And
then, like, the rest, I'm like, I love these movies. Is this the right spot?
Yeah, no, same here, because it was just like...
But, like, that top 15, I'm like, I'm pretty happy with where they're.
Yeah. No, same.
I rewatched the first 3 Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Because the new one comes out tomorrow.
You watching the 4th one?
I'm going to. I was going to do it tonight, but probably maybe tomorrow. And I realized, actually, the 3rd one I don't think was a rewatch. I think it was just a first-time watch. Really? I thought I had seen it. I think I'd seen the blimp stuff. I'd seen, I'd seen, the cup stuff at the end, but I don't think I've seen any of the first half.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't watched it in, 15 years, but I remember thinking that's...
Yeah, I think, so overall, growing up, I think Temple of Doom was my favorite, because I think the action in that movie is the best. I think the minecart chase scene is, the best thing in the franchise. It's so fucking good.
Yeah. I definitely need to rewatch all of them before I see that 5th one. But Temple of Doom has always been my least favorite. That's fair.
Rewatching it, it was... It's got some of the best stuff, and then it's just insanely racist.
Insanely racist.
And
the side characters are both kind of annoying in it to me.
I like Short Round a lot more this time around, I think.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of personality, and it was like, now we're going to make you play the most stereotypical character ever. It
was less him and more just the constant, Indy!
Yeah.
It's just like, my ears.
Yeah, what's her name? Like Willie or something.
Yeah.
She's bad. That's bad.
She's married to Spielberg, isn't she? Or she was at the time,
Maybe.
I think.
And it's like, this time around, I'm like, I want to appreciate her as a character, but there's just nothing there.
Yeah.
The first movie's still great. And
yeah,
I will say, I think those first two movies look incredible, especially for a blockbuster. I don't know what it is, but watching the third one, I think visual charm, I think something's missing.
Yeah, it might.
Maybe it's just the settings. A lot of it is like just brightly lit rooms. But it's not. I really enjoyed it though. I don't know if I like the intro scene with River Phoenix. I think it's kind of like fun and dumb, but it's dumb. It's very dumb.
It is dumb, but it's at least the quote is one of my favorite. It belongs in a museum.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
And I think the dad stuff's pretty good. And Sean Connery's maybe his most animated he's ever been in that movie.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa!
Sean Connery is really good in that movie.
Yeah, and he's a great pairing with Harrison Ford, too.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I really enjoy that one. I'll be excited to see how I feel about the fourth one. Because when I watched it, I thought it ruled. Yeah. But I was 11.
Yeah, I haven't watched it since I was a kid either.
Honestly, I kind of expect to still like it.
Yeah, I think that it. I mean,
the ideas in it I like quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd have to like rewatch it to like truly solidify my opinion on this, but it feels like another Indiana Jones movie. Mm-hmm. Like it seems like everything that people like pick apart about it is like nitpicking, and like it just.
Like,
he survived. He survived a fridge and a nuke, and it's like he flew out of a raft in an airplane in Temple of Doom. Like, what are you expecting? It's like, yeah, these movies are make believe and have a lot of fun action sequences, and like, but the CGI is bad, and it's like who cares?
Have you seen the green screen stuff in the third one where he's flying the plane? That looks pretty rough.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, there's some great practical effects in those original ones, but yeah, there's also parts where it is a little like, ugh. Yeah. So, I don't know. It doesn't. Bad special effects don't really bother me too much as long as like everything else is working on like a story, character, acting level. So it's like.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how I feel about the fourth one and then the fifth one, which I don't think looks particularly good.
No,
which is weird because I like Mangold a decent amount, but it doesn't like visually doesn't look very good, and it's just
yeah, it's like I can tell that it's got something to do with like time travel just based off the trailer, but the trailer really does not give me anything to sink my teeth into. So I'm hoping the actual movie can, but I don't know. It's hard to gauge because it's like. The only reviews I know about are from like Cannes, so it's like.
And it did not. Yeah, that was a great idea.
It's like, yeah, blockbusters don't do well at Cannes. Like they can, I guess, but
they can.
But it's not something I would expect from that like audience.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's what I did this week. I think. I don't think I watched anything else. I'll double check. Oh, and I re-picked up Shadow of War because I was almost done. I finished like the main game, but there's an extended end game to that I'm probably gonna slowly go through. Oh wait, no, I watched. Let's see, what was the last thing I talked about?
Indiana Jones?
No, last week. I watched The Chaser, which is I think it's by a guy named Na Hong Jin. I think it's the guy who did The Wailing, which I'm a big fan of. But it's another movie he made a few years before about like an ex-detective turned pimp whose like girls are going missing. He's trying to figure out, and there's like a serial killer on the list. It's very good. It's very
sounds
bleak,
like a pretty good premise.
but it's great and it looks awesome. And then I watched Asteroid City, which is awesome.
Yeah?
I loved it. I think it's my second favorite Anderson movie.
What did you... I completely missed out on the French Dispatch when that came out.
I thought it was great. I thought French... I think Wes Anderson in general usually makes things I think are pretty great. Mm-hmm. But I liked Asteroid City a lot.
Yeah.
It's weird because I see a lot of people not connecting emotionally with this one. And I felt like it was his most emotionally affecting. I think it's... I'll be interested to hear your thoughts when you eventually watch it.
Yeah, no. I'll probably... I don't know if I'll make it to the theater for that one, but I'll definitely check it out when it's streaming. I'll probably check out French Dispatch too, because, I tend to really like his live action stuff. I liked Mr. Fox. I was not a fan of Isle of Dogs, and that completely... honestly, it's probably why I wasn't like, oh shit, I gotta go see the French Dispatch. I'm also just bad at seeing movies in theaters, though. I still haven't seen The Northman, but I should, because it's like, I love Robert Eggers, and it's like, I don't know. See if I get better at that with time. I probably won't. Yeah. Anyway, do we have any questions?
For one last time, questions from Pierre. The last question. Question 1. What was your favorite question sent to the podcast? Pierre, I'm going to be honest. I don't remember a single fucking question you've ever asked.
That one.
This one, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was one about, like, how you would scare David Lynch to death or something like that.
Yeah.
Or scare David... There was something about scaring David Lynch. I'll go with that one.
Yeah. I'm really trying to think of any questions he's asked. Probably one of the ones that's like, if you could... I don't fucking know. I'm really grasping that straw.
That's okay. Question 2. Was David Lynch not real this whole time?
Unfortunately for you, Pierre, David Lynch has always been real.
And he's right behind you.
One that's real. David Lynch is the dreamer.
No! Question 3. What questions do you have?
How are you doing, Pierre?
What does it all mean?
Yeah,
What does this mean? What does life mean? What do I mean?
True.
Questions I'll never get the answers to. Thanks for all the content. Goodbye, Screen Weens. Kind of sad.
It is kind of sad.
I still expect to be making things, but it's still, you know.
No, I've got a project that I plan on starting here that it's going to be like not like
31 Days of Halloween.
It's not going to be 31 Days of Halloween, but more of like, hopefully I'll get a decent stock together and do at least for a period of time some weekly reviews that I can like push out. But yeah, I will work on that soon.
Sweet. Tune in soon for that.
Mm-hmm.
E10, the return of the 10. E11. Yeah. Okay, let's get down to it. We're gonna go over our top 50 each.
Mm-hmm.
So you were saying before we jump into that, I guess.
Yeah.
Any big ones that didn't make the cut?
Yeah. I've got 2 honorable mentions because it's just like Vagabond didn't make the cut.
Dude,
I know. It was very hard, but I was like comparing it in my mind to like a lot of the stuff that I had on the list, and like I feel like I'd have to rewatch it to reestablish a connection with it. And
that's
it's
fair.
just like, and also Losing Ground. I really liked Losing Ground, but I ended up cutting that off the list just because wasn't that much space. And there was some other stuff, like there were some horror movies that I kicked out. I was very torn between how many Lee Chang-dong movies I wanted to put on my list and David Lynch movies. Let me see. I did cut Mulholland Drive just because I didn't want...
That's insane.
Like, it probably realistically is in my favorite 50, but like...
Well, it's like the trilogy we watched, I put as one movie. I'm like, I cannot lose 3 spots to the greatest movie of all time.
Because it's like, the 2 David Lynch movies that I did put on my list, I couldn't bring myself to cut any of them. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, I really almost couldn't bring myself to cut Mulholland Drive, but I made the choice just because it...
I think I have one David Lynch movie on there, and I only have one... In my top 100, I have 2 Lee Chang-dong movies. In my top 50, I have 1.
But, yeah, there are a couple spots that I do have devoted to, like, trilogies, so to speak, because it's just like, I just picked one, but it's really a placeholder for the whole trilogy, because I can't decide, but I will talk up the ones in particular that I decided to pick just because it was like, I had to pick one, you know? But yeah, how about you? Did you have any honorable mentions?
I mean, there are a few, like Boyhood didn't make the list, and I fucking love Boyhood. Portrait of a Lady on Fire didn't make it. 12 Years a Slave didn't make it. Sing Street was one of my favorites. That didn't make it.
Rudderless was one that I also cut from the list because it was just like, I've only seen it once, and it's not like...
Still, looking at my top 50, there's still a lot of these that I've only seen once, but you know. Yeah,
there's definitely a few, but like, I had to have only seen it once, and I had to like leave a really strong impression, and Rudderless did, but like, there were some things that I just had to get off the list to make it 50, and so, sadly, Rudderless got the rudder.
Yeah. Are there directors with more than one on your list? Because there's a director on here that has 3 entries.
Are you asking if I have, like, multiple films from, like, the same director?
Yeah.
There are a couple examples, yes.
So I have... I have one with 3 and one with 2. And I think that's it.
Yeah, let me see.
No, I have 2 with 3. Oh, I forgot. Man.
Yeah, I think I did a pretty decent job. I don't think I have any more from the same director than 2. Just because I was like trying to kind of keep it compact and concise. And there's definitely some stuff on here I'm looking at now. I was like, oh man, maybe I would have cut that instead. But
well, that's why we're recording right now.
But nah, I'm just gonna keep it for now. But know that this list is subject to change with time. Same preface we give every single time we do this.
If I did make this list in 2 months, it'll probably be vastly different. Besides, like, the top 10.
Yeah, because there's still tons of movies I want to see that I think potentially could make the list.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen them yet, so I can't put them on there. But yeah, okay. Who wants to go first?
You started off first in episode 1. Let's have you start off first in episode 190.
All right. Sitting at number 50, I have Whiplash.
Sucks.
I know you're not a big fan of this movie.
Good movie. Okay, Whiplash.
Yeah, I think it's got 2 very good performances. I
agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's a good, nice,
fun time. It's got a nice rhythm, you know.
It's a movie that once it starts, it just kind of goes for it, and it's a very like snappy movie. It's quick. But yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, so that's why it's at the very bottom, because I was like, I don't know. That's the one that I was looking at. I was like, maybe that wouldn't have made the list. Maybe I should have put like Vagabond there or something. But, you know, I don't know. This movie really spoke to me the first time I saw it, and left an impression, so I put it on there.
Sweet. My number 50, we watched pretty recently.
Okay.
1925's The Freshman with Harold Lloyd.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the only Lloyd movie that went on the list. It's my favorite of his.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I think it's the heart of the movie that really sells it. I think the humor's really funny, and I like the spectacle of it. But yeah, that movie's so funny. And it's still funny 100 years later.
Yeah, no, it is.
And, you know, I think, you know, the spectacle of something like Safety Last might be stronger, but there's just something so engaging about The Freshman.
No, definitely. It's really nice to see that, like, from zero to hero kind of thing. Because it's like, it goes in and it's like, oh, look at that geek.
Doing a little dance.
Yeah, but then just ends up endearing to everybody there. And it's a nice, wholesome flick.
Yeah.
And it's timeless. I mean,
It's timeless.
it's close to 100 years old.
98 years old this year, yeah.
But, yeah, no, definitely. I feel that. I don't, looking at my list now, I don't have anything from the silent era on.
I think I have 3.
I don't even have anything from, I don't think I have any, like, old movies on here, really. Okay, there's a couple. But those don't feel like old movies, so it's like, But yeah, okay. At number 49...
I only have 2. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, at number 49, this is another one I haven't watched in years, so I'm not sure how I would feel about it today. I'm sure I'd like it. I think maybe the crude sense of humor of it might not appeal to me so much anymore, but it is Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That movie's so good.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched it.
I haven't seen it in like 3 years, but I love that movie.
I haven't seen it probably in like close to 10. So it's like, but it, I love it. And I do watch clips from it all the time because I love that Dracula musical.
It's so good.
Yeah. And it's just like, Jason Segel, please make that.
Yeah.
Please.
No, that movie's awesome.
Yeah. I wish he would. He's got like an interview out there where he's like talking about like how Judd Apatow kind of talked him out of making that musical. And it's like,
Judd Apatow, your mortal enemy.
Oh, Judd, why? Why did your parents name you that? No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. But, yeah.
My 49 is the one, the only, there he is, Gremlins.
Nice.
It's such a good movie. It's so much fun. Gizmo's just the cutest thing of all time. He drives a little car.
He does.
He multiplies and they become little monsters. It's just like, it has a fun family, vibe to it, and then it's like horrifying at other times. It's really funny.
So, we forgot to discuss this before. What do we do when there's like a crossover? Like when we both have the same thing on the list?
Well, then tell me when you hit it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm sure is it right now?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Alright. My number 48 is, it was tough for me to pick between this and another one we watched from that same episode. But Dog Day Afternoon.
God, what a movie.
Yeah, Dog Day Afternoon is just, like, so good.
Mm-hmm. Robbing a bank for your trans girlfriend because you love them so much. You love her so much. Mm-hmm. And then everyone's cheering on for you because you are the winner.
Yeah, like, it's such a good movie.
Alfredo, good job.
So based for the time, and it's, like... Not only from, like, the kind of social standpoint of, like, the fact that it has, like, a trans character that isn't, like, mocked or terrorized throughout the movie, but also, like, the fact that, like, it's about, like, a guy robbing a bank, and it's not treating him as just some sort of, like, nasty crook, like, is actually trying to dive into his psychology a bit, and I really appreciate that, especially from that era.
That one and Serpico are both ones that might go up in my, onto my list in the future if on a rewatch.
Serpico is the one that I was, weighing against it. Like, I can only put one on here.
Yeah.
But
that's...
Yeah, they're both really good.
My number 48 is a Coen Brothers movie. It is Inside Llewyn Davis.
I still need to see that.
Oscar Isaac. It's so good. And it's it's kind of haunting. In what it represents and what it accomplishes. It's they're most emotionally affecting towards me. It's bitter and it's sad and it feels hopeless and it in a good way.
Yeah.
And it's also really funny at times and it looks great. It's a Coen Brothers movie, so it's obviously gonna be pretty good probably, but it's
more than likely.
Good. And Oscar Isaac's great in it. Adam Driver's great in it.
Oh,
he's in a pretty small role. John Goodman's great in it.
Oh.
Everyone that's in it is I could say I'd be that's their best performance.
Oh, damn. All right. At my number 47, I've got Secret Sunshine by Lee Chang-dong.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that made the list.
We're gonna have a lot of downers on these lists, I think.
I definitely do have a lot of downers, but I've got some uppers too. So, but yeah, this movie is fucked up. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's and all of Lee Chang's movies are so sad, but it's this and the other one. I'll say that this is on my list, but the other one that's not on the list is Oasis. That's in my top 100.
Oasis was the one I was considering. I was like Oasis and Greenfish last a very lasting impression with me, even though like. I don't think it's his strongest movie.
In the moment, I felt the same way. Actually, in the moment, I felt that way about that and Peppermint Candy. But I've really been thinking about them since we recorded that episode, 2 years ago or whatever?
Yeah, it was an early episode. I want to say Lee Chang-dong was in like our first 5 deep dives or so.
So maybe 3 years ago, you know?
Yeah. And it's just like, man. But... yeah, for those who want like a log line on that one, it's just about a woman whose son goes missing and turns up dead, and she ends up getting kind of like through her grieving, she gets like absorbed into like church, and they like it's just kind of about like how like religion can kind of prey on desperate people and offer them answers, even though like they don't really have the answers, but they say they do, and how that can be damaging to people. It can, don't get me wrong, it can be helpful to some people. It might be what they need.
In the movie, it's helpful at times too.
Yeah, but it's not a Band-Aid that you should count on to fix all your problems, sort of a thing. And
yeah,
it's so good. It's a very, very good movie, and it's rough though. It's a rough watch.
It's kind of like, get ready to sob on the floor for a while. Mm-hmm. Here's a kind of fun movie, though. 47, last year's RRR.
Oh, I still need to watch that.
It's so... SS Rajamouli.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
I think of Bahubali all the time. Yeah. It pops up in my mind all the time because it's like...
Then you'd love RRR,
I know.
dude.
I need to watch it. There was a point where I almost watched it, but I wanted to wait until like the actual original language dub came out because
it's still not on Netflix because they don't own the rights to it. The rights were bought by like an Indian streaming company right when it was coming out because nobody thought it was going to be like as big as it was.
Yeah, I'll have to look into seeing if I can find that online or something.
Yeah. But the last time I checked, I couldn't find a Blu-ray for it either. But that might be the difference. Now that was like 7 months ago now.
Yeah, eventually, if I must, I will. Yeah. But, I don't know. I try to watch... Not always. It just kind of depends on what it is, but that'd be something I'd try to watch in the original language.
The energy in that movie is just unmatched, and I've watched it a few times now, and I just have had so much fucking fun every time.
Yeah, I hear nothing but great things, so...
But yeah, that's my 47.
Alright. My 46 is one that we watched here on the podcast called The Watermelon Woman.
Oh yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, I just think it's a great concept, and there's not a whole lot out there like it. Yeah. It's about, basically, it came out, I want to say it was released later than the date that's on Letterboxd, right? Because it was made in 1996, but didn't you mention it came out like
98 or something? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's from the mid to late 90s.
But yeah, it's basically about like a black lesbian film student who's discovered this like beautiful old actress who plays just kind of like background maids in like a bunch of like Hollywood movies, and she's like, who is this person? And the only information she can really find is like, oh, that's the Watermelon Woman. So she kind of goes on like just this deep dive to try and find out about this woman in her life and make a documentary about it, but she's also kind of like coincidentally kind of living that woman's life in a lot of ways because like they're both involved in like toxic relationships with white women, and it's really something. I implore all of you to check it out. It's like 85
short.
minutes.
Yeah, it's super short, and it's very funny too. And
Yeah, no, it's great. I really like it, and it's not real, like,
but it feels real.
Yeah, they do a really good job at like, it's like, oh crap, this feels like it could be.
Yeah. My 46 is a movie I watched pretty recently, not for the podcast. I was in a mood for Bergman, and I watched Winter Light.
I still need to see that
one. It gave me like a panic attack.
Yeah.
It's all about like religious trauma and like the lack of a reason to live and what it feels like to not believe in anything and the loss of like what it feels like to lose your belief in something. It's just, and it's also so short. It's probably like shorter than Watermelon Woman. I think it's like 80 minutes. It's, it's an hour and 20 minutes and it's like, it's gorgeous. It looks great, and it's just so sad, and I love it so much. Yeah. I've only seen it the once, but it's cool.
Yeah, I definitely need to like sit down and work my way through the Bergman I haven't seen.
Yeah, me too. Because I'm sure there's another few that I'll probably fall in love with as well.
Oh yeah, Bergman was one of the kings.
Yeah.
All right, at my 45, I've got Birdman.
Yo!
Yeah. Or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
The sequel to that came out.
What?
Yeah, it's called The Flash.
God damn it. I got kind of half scared, half excited there for a second. I'm like, sequel to Birdman? What? Of course. Yeah, because it's kind of ironic having seen Birdman. If you see, like, Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, it's like, oh, okay. But
I've seen this somewhere before.
Yeah. But, Birdman is basically like... I don't even know how to describe Birdman. It's like a fake one-shot movie, but it's about basically people trying to put on a play performance, and he's the director in it, right? Or no, he's an actor in it.
He's an actor in it. He might also be like producing it or something.
Yeah, but
I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah,
since we watched it.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I've only seen it like 2 or 3 times, but they've always been pretty spaced out. But yeah, he's kind of he's like living in the shadow of like it's a super villain, right? Birdman? I think so. Maybe it's just in the movie, the way it's like portrayed.
No, I think he's the hero, but to him it's the villain of his story. Because it ruined his life by typecasting him as a super.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's basically like living in the shadow of this Birdman character and kind of going off the wall, and his reality is like just kind of merging with his... I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it's a fucking trip. It's got so many great performances in it, and I don't know. I always really like theater movies just because I was a theater kid, so it's like, I can kind of relate. But yeah, Birdman, great movie.
I agree. It's not on my list, but I agree. 45, we watched this for the podcast, and it was one that I was really excited to watch. It's been 2 years, but Funeral Parade of Roses.
That was also one that I almost put on the list, but because I only saw it the once, I was like, but it did leave an impression.
Super experimental, super weird, got weird carnival music.
Yeah.
But it like explores like queer subcultures in like the 60s of Japan, and it's pretty brutal and pretty wacky and wild and very engaging. Not like... There are a lot of movies, even great movies can feel similar to something, but this one really feels pretty unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. Because it's got like... You could almost say it's got like some like Lynchian abstract kind of elements going on with like how they present certain stuff, but like in terms of like its own carving out its own identity, I mean, without a doubt. But yeah, that movie's awesome, and definitely more people need to check that one out because I never hear anyone talk about Funeral Parade of Roses. But yeah, great movie. At my number 44, I've got The Exorcist, classic.
Yeah, I love that movie. I don't even know if I've seen it. I'm pretty sure I've seen it on television. Really? But when I think about movies on television when I was a kid, I'm like, do I count that as seen it? Because I don't,
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing. Sometimes I'm like, I've seen it. Sometimes I'm like, I've kind of seen it.
But I really want to rewatch that.
Yeah.
Or watch it, depending on my definition of watch.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I think it's just a great grounded horror movie. It's got great character work in it for Damien, who is the priest in the movie. And yeah, I don't know. It just, the way things kind of come together by the end is like phenomenal, and I love it. And yeah, it's great. And so is its sequel, not The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, but The Exorcist 3.
That was your 44?
Yes, that was my 44.
My 44 is, speaking of demons, mine is I Saw the Devil, which is a South Korean thriller by Kim Ji-woon. Mm-hmm. And it's just horrifying, but so fucking satisfying to watch, too. And it's so good. Have you seen that one yet?
No.
So, basic premise is guy's wife is, like, murdered by a serial killer. Like, while he's on the phone with her. And then he's like, I'm gonna hunt the serial killer. So the whole movie is him hunting the serial killer. Mm-hmm. And it's so good.
Mm. Yeah, is that from the same director as Mr. Vengeance, Lady Vengeance?
No, that's Park Chan-wook. He did that. But Kim Ji-woon does, like, it's funny because he alternates between doing stuff like this and doing stuff like The Good, the Bad, and the Weird and The Foul King.
Yeah, okay. I see.
That's a good movie, The Foul King. That's the wrestling one that Song Kang-ho did.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's one that I forget about and then I'll remember. I'll be like, yeah, that movie ruled!
The boss in that movie. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's my 44.
Okay. My number 43 is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Haven't seen.
It's the only Western I have on this list, and I think it's like one of the great Westerns. It's got a lot of like Red Dead has a lot of Butch Cassidy in its DNA, and I love the Red Dead games too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just a great movie because like, I don't know about real life. I haven't done deep dives into like who they were as like historical figures. But in terms of the movie, it's kind of like the same thing I like about One Piece, where they're kind of like, they're outlaws, but they're more so like free spirits that are kind of trying to stick it to the system. Mm-hmm. But it just kind of sadly doesn't end as happy as I assume One Piece is going to. Because, yeah, they're outlaws in the Wild West. And
One Piece is going to end with Luffy getting shot in the back of the head.
I mean, it's probably going to end with him dying, realistically. If not, getting shot in the back of the head, getting his head sliced with knives like Roger.
He's going to eat too much food and explode.
Never. But, yeah, it's a great movie. I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's got all the emotions in it. And I highly recommend you check it out at some point, because it's great.
If only there was a podcast that I watched. All right, that was your, 43?
Yes.
All right, my 43, Spike Jonze, Nicolas Cage, adaptation. Just rules. I love the dual role Nick Cage plays with as Charlie Kaufman and his brother. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
What is Bill, Philip, someone? No, not Philip Kaufman.
Yeah, the other Kaufman.
Yeah, but Meryl Streep's also great in that, and it's just, I love the idea of taking a book, trying to adapt it, losing your mind, and then making something like adaptation.
Yeah, I've read part of The Orchid Thief. I don't blame Charlie Kaufman.
Put it down. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. You're like Charlie. I literally was in my head. I'm like, that's what Charlie Kaufman did.
Pretty much. It's a hard, I mean, it's not a hard book to read, but like a lot of it's just like, let me describe like the cutting process of orchids and how it relates to my life. And I was just like, I don't blame Charlie Kaufman for going, how do I adapt this? But I guess it was a New York bestseller or whatever the fuck back then. So they thought it might have made a good movie. And it did.
Just with a little tweaking.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All great adaptations need a little adjustment. So, yeah, okay. My 42 is JSA, Joint Security Area.
What a movie.
Yeah, this movie is
That's
really
Park Chan-wook. That's Lady Vengeance.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's kind of nonchalant throughout most of its runtime. It's like, oh, this is kind of like a fun, wholesome. But once you get to like where things start to kind of boil up, It's so good. Like that.
It's so good in the beginning too, because they're putting so much effort in making these characters. The story's about a South Korean border guard and a North Korean border guard that like become friends, and they put so much time into making them best friends that when like the inciting incident happens, it's almost hard to watch.
But it's so good. Like it's just like the way it's executed and everything like just falls into place in that one very climactic scene. It's just like, oh, it's so good. And there's honestly like I'm grasping at straws to think of like other movie moments that make me just feel the same way that scene in that movie does. Yeah. So it's good.
I agree. My 42 is another new one I watched. It's not from the podcast, though, but it came out last year. There are a few movies that came out last year that are on here. And obviously, with time, they might fall off. But in general, I think last year was insane for movies. But that's Spielberg's The Fabelmans, which is just... you gotta watch it.
Yeah, I need to still.
It's like... It's really depressing. Like, on this outer shell, it's like about the magic of making movies, but really on the inside, it's just like Spielberg being like, movies ruined my fucking life. Or it's like, look at the way I cope. There's a part where he is, the main character, Sammy Fabelman, is watching his parents scream and yell at each other getting a divorce kind of thing. And he sees himself in the mirror filming this. Like, he looks over in the mirror and he sees him just pass through filming it. Because it's not actually happening, but it's like how he views everything that's happened in his life is like a plot device in his own story, not as like something that actually happened. It's fantastic. And it's one of those movies that you keep thinking about.
Yeah, see, I hadn't heard that angle to it. I just kind of looked at it.
Well, it's like, and that's what's so good about rewatching it. It's like,
yeah, because I had always gotten like Cinema Paradiso vibes from it. So I was like, kind of like, oh, I should probably watch that before I watch this kind of.
No, go watch this right now. Fuck Cinema Paradiso.
I've heard great.
I would probably love it.
Probably, yeah. I would also...
Because I also love movies about movies.
All right. Let me see. My 41 is 12 Years a Slave. This is just, a very hard watch, but it's so magnificent the way it's actually like the filmmaking techniques that go into it are so good. Like, it looks good. The sound design is immaculate.
Which is makes it pretty hard to watch, you know?
Yes. But I always think of that opening scene where he's, like, tuning the violin, and it's like... And the lighting in the movie is, like, so naturalistic. It's, like, it's a phenomenal feat of, like, filmmaking.
It's interesting because I think Steve McQueen is consistently great, you know? I like most of his movies quite a bit.
Yeah.
But then it's like 12 Years a Slave. It's just, like, on another level.
It really is. Like, compared to, like, Shame and Hunger and... Which
I think are great. I think Widows was great.
Yeah.
I like most of Small Axe quite a bit.
Yeah, Small Axe had some really good ones.
Was it? Education or something like that. That episode's really good of that one.
Yeah.
The dancing episode's really good.
Yeah, the one with...
There's one that's not very good, but...
What was the one with... I'm blanking on his name. Finn.
Oh, John Boyega. I don't remember the name of that episode, but that was also good, you know? So it's like he's consistently makes great, but that one's like just on another level.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad it didn't make the list. And I feel like I rewatch it, it'll go up.
Yeah.
I think maybe I was looking at the list, I'm like, man, there's a lot of downers on this list.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I was kind of doing the same where I was like, oh, I need to put some more high-spirited stuff on here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
my 41, Empire Strikes Back.
Very good. Very good.
You know, I think is just brilliant, you know. Especially for a Star Wars movie. What? Bunch of schlock. It's funny how my feelings on Star Wars have evolved over this, too. I still love Star Wars. But my feelings have definitely, like... Yeah, no, Star Wars can be bad.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But, like, 5 years ago, I was like, nah, it's all good. It's all great.
Definitely not. I mean, even the stuff I like, I'm willing to pick up.
But I think Empire Strikes Back is incredible. And it's, the high tragedy of that trilogy. And I think that the characterization's a lot more fleshed out than in the first one in interesting and unique ways. And yeah, it's fantastic and it looks great. I think it's the best looking of the original trilogy.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. Especially, that's the one that I actually do prefer the remaster for, because they do all the work on Cloud City.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of, Cloud City before, but it's like, I guess it looks okay.
Yeah,
but
well, it's because they don't have, it's like the place that they're in doesn't have any windows. It's all just like the white mechanical walls, and you don't see Cloud City aside from the establishing shots. Whereas the remaster actually went in and was like, all right, let's make this more of a spectacle, which I appreciate, because it's fantasy. You need spectacle.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially in a place called Cloud City.
It's called Cloud City because there are no clouds. It's ironic.
Right. All right. At my number 40, I've got Schindler's List. I don't
think it made my top 50.
Yeah, kind of the same as like 12 Years a Slave. It's just like,
man, that back to back.
I know. It's like they're both just like feats of filmmaking, like some of the best filmmaking ever fucking made. Except I think Schindler's List does a great job at like having a great fucking like character arc to accompany it. Not to say that like the character arc in 12 Years a Slave is like not good or anything, but like Schindler's List, it's like he starts off as a very kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I don't have any skin in the game personally, but as he goes along, it's like, I can't do this anymore. And he kind of becomes more of a humanitarian. And seeing that shift is just so impactful.
Yeah.
And it's done so well.
Liam Neeson's just insanely good in that movie.
Yeah.
And the ending of that movie, where it shows all the actual people walking hand in hand with the actors that portrayed them, just having bursting into tears.
Yeah. No, it's really an emotionally moving scene. And they all put the rocks on the grave. And yeah, it's good. It's good.
That's my number 97 on my top 100, by the way. So it's up there. It's in the top 100. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, so good. And I hadn't watched it in a few years, but watching it on the podcast reminded me. It's like, oh, fuck yeah, this is a phenomenal film.
And that was my first time watching it, so there's always a chance it goes up and rewatch. It's just also a movie that's like hard to rewatch.
Yes.
My number 40 might be the funniest thing to pair against it in the world, because my number 40 is Paddington 2, which is the polar opposite. Maybe the most just like happy-go-lucky movie of all time.
Just wait till you hear my number 39.
But yeah, I love Paddington 2. And every time I watch it, I'm just like, this movie's so fun. And it looks great. Paul King's great. Honestly, I'm pretty excited for the Wonka movie just to see what he does.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would never want to see a Wonka movie, but I'm like, he made Paddington 2. I'll see what he's doing.
Yeah, I'll probably check it out for that reason alone. But I'm not excited for anything else about that movie.
But Paddington 2 is just like, it's so happy and it makes me feel so happy. And sometimes I just want to feel happy.
No, those Paddington movies are wholesome as fuck. And a great watch. All right, at my number 39, I've got Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Hell yeah! What a movie.
So good. It's like probably the best adaptation of Dracula. I know that there's some miniseries that are like regarded as subjectively more accurate. It's kind of hard to like fully
Does he crawl on the walls? Because in Francis Ford Coppola, he crawls down the castle walls. And that's why that adaptation's incredible.
Yeah. But it's just such a fun blend between like just great like Francis Ford Coppola filmmaking mixed with like him doing a lot of throwbacks to like the old Universal tricks, and it looks
incredible.
Yeah, like that shot where it's like the carriage on the like fucking going down like the cliffside, and it's got like the eyes.
Yeah, I mean that's whenever you say Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, that's the shot that comes to mind, and then him crawling down the castle walls,
and the way that they integrate like all the like documents and the writing of the journals with the narration, it's like honestly just like.
And I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna defend it one more time. I really like Keanu Reeves in that movie.
I do too.
I think every time I watch that movie, I like it more.
No, I like it from like not because I think it's objectively good, but yeah, it's charming. I don't know how true this is, but the fact that like there's a rumor out there that like Francis Ford Coppola was like
yeah, he was just nice. So
please stop the accent, and Keanu was like, no, please, I want to do the accent. Let me try. It's just so wholesome.
It's like, he was such a nice guy, so I just let him do it.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. I love it.
Rules. That movie's not on anywhere near my top 100, but I really like that movie. My 39 is one that if you had told me 4 years ago that this would be on my list, I would be like, that's ridiculous. But it is Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
I never expected to go into the Rocky movies and be like, these are awesome. But that first movie is just exceptional.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite of what I thought it was going to be. Sylvester Stallone's great in it. Mm-hmm. He's so charming. And it's just like, it feels like nice and gritty too, because it's low budget. Mm-hmm. And it's low stakes for like Rocky as a character too. But the like determination in it and the like self-awareness of both the script and the characters is just, it's awesome. That movie's so good. And in general, when we watch the Rocky movies and the Creed movies, I like most of those. I only don't like Rocky 5. Yeah, and even then, I like ideas in Rocky 5.
Mm-hmm. No, same. No,
nothing hits Rocky 1. Rocky 1's fucking incredible.
Yeah, Rocky 1 is the tip of the iceberg, and it's just, I'd love to see something surpass it, but I just don't think it can.
Yeah. I think Creed 1, it's a solid contender.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if Creed 1 couldn't do it, I don't think anything else will. I doubt Creed 4 will do it.
Yeah, because like Rocky was like the proto blockbuster. I mean, like I'm pretty sure it came out before Jaws, before Star Wars.
No, 78. I think no, it was 76. You're right. Yeah.
So it's like, it's really setting the table for like what these big blockbusters could be. And it's kind of like got one leg in the kind of like indie underground theater kind of scene, and one leg in like just the fact that it blew the fuck up.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's down later on my list. I'll talk about it more in depth there, but yeah, it's phenomenal. I love Rocky. Let's see. All right. My number 38 is Black Dynamite.
Oh yeah, dude!
Yeah, it's fucking one of my favorite comedies.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's so... it's like... That's a movie that just has consistent jokes, but they're all funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're fucking great. And didn't they do a Black Dynamite 2? Or what? I swear that there was something in the works, or it might not have been Black Dynamite 2, but it might have been that same team was trying to do something.
Yeah,
else. I remember hearing about like it starting.
I don't remember if it ever came out or did anything.
I'll have to look into that. But yeah, and I also do like the Adult Swim cartoon as well. I don't think it's as good, but it definitely like scratches that itch. But yeah, Black Dynamite. I really love absurdist comedy, and it's
if you want to laugh, go watch Black Dynamite.
Yeah, it's like a great parody of like the kind of like Dolomite kind of shit that was coming out back in the 70s, and it's like so good.
My number 38, James Cameron's Avatar 1.
Nice.
I think that movie rules. I think it still looks great, and I love the world building of it, and I like the use of like a kind of a character without a lot going for him, kind of becoming more of a character as he becomes more in tune with nature. Mm-hmm. I love the look of the Na'vi. I love everything about that movie. I really, I was shocked when I rewatched that in theaters. I'm like, wait, this movie's mind-blowing. Because when I saw it as a kid, I also thought it was mind-blowing. So it's nice to watch a movie like that thinking, no, this isn't going to be as good. And then be transported back to that same exact feeling. Yeah. But Avatar 1, it rules.
I definitely need to rewatch it.
You won't feel the same.
But
you'll probably like it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get more out of it than I got out of it the one time I watched it in 2009, because I remember just thinking it was a mid-fest back then. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see how I feel about it now, because I barely remember anything about it. Let's see. My number 37 is Return of the Living Dead.
Not Last of the Living?
No.
I thought that was going to be the zombie movie on your list.
No, not even close. If I was doing
Are there 2 zombie movies on your list?
There are, I guess, technically 3. Although one of them, yeah, there are zombies in it, but I don't really view it as like a zombie movie.
Okay. It's 2.5, got it. But yes, Return of the Living Dead. I've only seen it the once, but I really liked it then.
Yeah, it's great dark comedy, just things spiral out of control. It's got a lot of character with like the fucking punk rockers in it. It's just fucking hilarious. I laugh my ass off at it every time. It's got like a weird meta awareness because it like takes place in a world where Night of the Living Dead is a movie that everyone has seen, but it's based on a true story that was like covered up by the government, but like because of like their failed bureaucracy, they shipped the tanks to like a random morgue where like 20 years later, some guy trying to show his nephew, because he's excited, he's like, oh, I'm gonna teach my nephew, give him a good job. Oh, look at the way the military makes these babies. And he slaps the canister and ends up unleashing a zombie apocalypse onto this town. It's so fucking weird.
And it's so dumb, but in a fun way.
Yeah, it's so good. And I don't think any of the sequels reach the heights of the first one. I think 2 is definitely worth a watch if you like the first one a lot, but like, it's not as good. And I never got into 3. I always got like halfway through that movie and could never finish it. But
I want to rewatch the first one and then maybe take a look at the sequels.
Yeah, there's 5 of them, and 4 and 5 are apparently like abysmal.
That's
like,
what I've heard.
Yeah, they're not even close to the same level of quality. They came out like way later, and it's like one of those type scenarios.
Yeah,
but yeah, Return of the Living Dead, classic.
My 37 is There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Also a classic.
Yeah, it's I Drink Your Milkshake. Paul Thomas Anderson consistently just writes like super compelling characters that have like a good balance between feeling like weird fictional like amalgamations of a million stories you've heard, but also feeling like true to form characters that you would meet in real life.
Yeah, because like all of his films, even like Boogie Night, have some sort of like a historical. They're not like real historical biopics by any means, but they kind of take like the gist of what was going on in whatever particular topic he's covering. It's like There Will Be Blood kind of tackles early oil tycoons, whereas like Boogie Nights covers like the fall of like film porn and to the early video age, and The Master is like obviously like the fucking what's that guy's name? The Xenu guy. The Scientology guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Howard, no.
But
H.R. Geiger, no. P.F. No.
Oh, well. You get the point.
What the fuck is his name? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like right on the tip of my tongue, but I'm not going to chase it because it's not really that relevant. But yeah, he does a really good job at like kind of covering that.
Yeah.
And there's not like all of his movies, but a lot of them can be, and he does a really good job with that.
I agree. So, yeah, There Will Be Blood rules. It's my second favorite PTA movie. So.
Yeah, it's also probably my second favorite PTA movie. Probably, yeah. But yeah, my number 36. It's a fun one that I really like. I have a fun time with it every time I watch it, and that is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
They look like us.
And they do. It's just one of the ultimate, just like, who gives a fuck? We're just here to have fun and a good time. Like, it's like, why are they clowns? And it's like,
because they're killer clowns from outer space.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. Yeah.
Who cares?
Who gives a shit? Yeah.
And it's so great. And all the gags in it and the special effects, they're just so fun.
Yeah. I remember not being super hot. I remember liking it when I watched it, but it's one that I really want to rewatch.
Yeah. It is just the Blob.
Yeah.
But it's the Blob done.
It's better than the fucking... I don't know if I'll ever like it as much as the 80s one, but the original Blob... Me and Thomas fucking hate that movie.
Yeah, I remember liking it as a kid, and then I rewatched it with you that one time because I talked it up.
And then we rewatched it again.
Yeah, for the podcast.
But at least we got to watch the sequel, the remake for that.
We did also watch the sequel in the back.
We did, which was better.
Yeah, it had beef in it.
It had beef in it.
Garrett Grant, is that actor's name?
Something like that.
Yeah. But,
who's in a movie that's probably in both of our lists?
Yes.
I was like, did you not put that on your list this
For
time?
half a second, I thought you were talking about Terror Vision. I'm like, I like Terror Vision.
Terror Vision, that's not... When I'm saying we watched the same number one, it's that one.
Yeah. But, yeah. That's my, 36.
My 36 is Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, which is still... probably my favorite heist movie. It's so snappy.
I still haven't seen that one.
You know, if only you had a Blu-ray copy of it.
I do.
Oh. Huh.
I just, something deep down inside me, like 4 years ago, was like, I could watch The Killers.
No, The Killing.
The Killing. Or I could watch Fear and Desire and Killer's Kiss.
Killer's Kiss makes me want to kill myself. The Killing makes me want to live forever.
Did we cover those on the podcast?
No. Because we talk about them in episode 1. Because I talk about The Killing.
Do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say Killer's Kiss makes me pissed off. But yeah, I think The Killing's so snappy, so much fun. It's really short. It looks great. It's my favorite Kubrick. And I still haven't seen 2001 or Spartacus or Lolita. There's a few that I haven't watched, but
yeah, I don't.
I think The Killing's probably going to stay there. I feel like I will really like 2001, but I don't think I'll think it's the best.
2001's good, but I definitely think of his movies, it's definitely like potentially the most overrated.
And you know what the most underrated is besides The Killing? Thomas's next pick, which is Barry Lyndon. Just kidding, but it's probably on the list.
It is on the list. Spoiler, but it's definitely not my next pick. My next pick is Akira Kurosawa's Ran.
Let's fucking go!
Yeah, this, it's like a 3-hour movie, but...
I think only 2.5. It's just so... 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's basically just kind of about, like... A guy who's like, all right, he's like the emperor or whatever at that point, or the shogun. I don't quite remember. It's been quite a couple years since I've watched it, and I only saw it the once. But like, he basically is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick my son to, pick up where I left off, and immediately he's like, I don't like how my son's doing, and it ends up triggering this whole power struggle that just is pure chaos, but it's so good.
So good. That movie looks incredible.
Yeah, and
I'm going to say that about most movies here, but geez, that with the palace on fire and him wandering out, it's so fucking good.
Yeah, and what's that actor's name again?
Tatsuya Nakadai?
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
He shows up like 3 or 4 times on my list.
He also, same here.
He's great.
I'm sure we have probably the same entries, I would guess, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but he's so good. And I need to embed his name into my memory because I always forget it like 10 minutes after I say it. But he's phenomenal.
Yeah. My 35 is Evil Dead 2.
Oh, nice.
It's so good.
It is, yeah.
It's the fun tracking shots. So many, like, Sam Raimi-isms that are in full force here.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce Campbell's a star. And I'm glad. People are like, why wasn't he a bigger thing? No, I want him to be a weird little obscurity. That, like, you know, he was a pretty big draw for, like, you know, the B horror and stuff. And, you know, Evil Dead 2 was huge. People...
Yeah.
But I love it so much. And, you know, maybe Army of Darkness will grow on me. I really like that movie. Like, but I've only seen it the once. But Evil Dead 2's I've loved since I first saw it.
Yeah. I mean, the whole trilogy is solid.
Yeah. Honestly, franchise as a whole, I really like. I'm still not a fan of the remake, but I really like the show, at least from what I saw of it. And I really like the new one. So.
Yeah, Evil Dead Rise
Evil Dead 2 fucking rules.
It does. Without a doubt.
Chainsaw Hand!
I don't think an Evil Dead movie will ever surpass it. Like, it's just... Yeah. It'd be
unless they do hard. Evil Dead 2.
That's true. If anybody could do it, it'd only be Sam Raimi. Because I otherwise, I feel like they're just trying to capture his lightning in a bottle, you know? But, all right. My number 34 is one of my favorite dark comedies, and that is The Lobster by Yorgos Lanthimos. That movie, I was kind of like, this, Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think I like The Lobster a little more, with hindsight, not having watched either of them in a good few years. Why are you smiling at me?
So, spoiler, but I rewatched our first episode and went through this, and you had The Lobster on the list. And you said, it was either this or Killing of a Sacred Deer. But I think in hindsight, you said the almost exact same thing.
Oh my god.
But you're like, I think this one edges out. And you said a pretty similar thing.
Damn. Well, yeah, apparently.
Lobster's great.
Lobster, true in my heart. But yeah, it's a weird premise. It's about a single guy. We're basically like in this society, if you're not married by a certain age, they ship you to a big hotel where you mingle around with other single people. Try to find somebody within like a certain time frame, and if you don't, they turn you into an animal of your choice, and his choice is a lobster. And I'm not going to get much more into it than that, but yeah, it goes some weird fucking places, and it's a strange movie, but it's a good one. And I feel like I'd have an easier time showing The Lobster to like
a baby.
Way more people than I could get away with, like, Killing of a Sacred Deer, because that movie kind of cranks up the awkward tension a whole different level.
Just a tad, yeah. My 34 is Stop Making Sense, the concert movie for the Talking Heads, which I've talked to you about at length.
I know, I need to watch it at some point.
It's just like, I love the Talking Heads, but it also just like, for a concert movie, it has this language to it, this, you know, the language of cinema that kind of makes this cinematic journey almost, and it's so moving, and it's so much fun, and it makes you want to dance, it makes you want to live, it makes you feel like you're gonna live forever.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I've seen it 3 or 4 times now, and every time I watch it, I'm like, you want to do it again? You want to just watch it again right now? Honestly, maybe tomorrow I'll watch it. No. But yeah, that's my 34.
All right. My 33 is the 1961 adaptation of the play A Raisin in the Sun. With Sidney Poitier. And honestly, the whole cast in this version is fucking great. Like, you got Claudia McNeil, who plays the mother. She does a great job. Just everyone in the cast does a phenomenal job. But yeah, it's just about a movie about like kind of like this family that's like confined into a very small apartment, and they're just basically like their father's life insurance check is like giving them the opportunity for a new life, and the son potentially may squander it, may not, kind of gambling it on his own future. And it's it's just so good. It's got some over-the-top kind of hammy moments. Like Sidney Poitier has that moment where he kind of goes full Shatner with it, but it's so great, and I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great movie, and I love it a lot.
I'm glad when we rewatched it that I felt so much stronger about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that movie's incredible. My 33 is the first appearance of Masaki Kobayashi on the list. It is Samurai Rebellion.
Nice.
Which also has Tetsuya Nakadai.
Mm-hmm.
And Toshiro Mifune, and maybe my favorite role from him. It's just, this sad dad who wants to do right by his honor, by his culture, and by his family, and deciding what's worth it, and, what it means to stand up for what you think is right and what will save people. Just amazing movie. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Want to watch it again. As soon as we finish that episode, I'm like, I should go rewatch those movies.
Yeah, no, that is a good one. I did quite like it.
Yeah. But yeah, Samurai Rebellion. Boom.
Mm-hmm. All right. At my number 32, I've got Before Sunrise, which is my favorite of the Before trilogy. I had to make sure it was the one I was thinking of. But yeah, I think it kicks off with a strong start. I think the whole trilogy, of course, is great. But yeah, it's probably easily my favorite. Linklater, probably. But yeah.
School of Rock?
School of Rock is a lot of fun, and I really like it. But this might edge it out just a bit. But yeah, it's so good. And it's just about like this couple that meet on the train and spend a night together, and you basically just like walk and talk with them and spend their night together, and it's just so good. It's probably like the most romantic movie ever made. I don't know.
It's pretty up there. You should watch In the Mood for Love, though.
Yeah, you need to.
My 32 is a movie that means a lot to me. It's SLC Punk from 98, which we have not watched, and Thomas will never watch.
That's not true.
With Matthew Lillard, about punk culture, or like pseudo-punk culture, what it means to be a poser, what it means to be real. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. It's really good. It meant a lot to me growing up. It was that and Trainspotting that were really influential on who I was, and still is. And rewatching it feels like, wow, I feel like I was like that. I get where they're coming from. I get where they're going. Mm-hmm. But really, really like SLC Punk. That's my 32.
My number 31, coincidentally enough, Trainspotting. I know. Yeah, we just talked about this not too long ago on the podcast, but it's just, yeah, I think it's a great movie about just kind of like people who are stuck within like the pattern of themselves, trying to like break their state of mind and trying to like be a better person, mm-hmm. and whether they actually can or not. I don't know. This is a great movie. I don't know. I don't have much to say on it because we just talked about it like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But
go watch that podcast.
Yeah.
We just covered Danny Boyle. He's the final guy we're going to do a deep dive on. Interesting. Potentially. Until we're back in 5 years or whenever. Mm-hmm. Or never.
Who knows?
Who knows?
But yeah.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie. Spoiler, it's going to be up later. My 31, this may shock you. Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Still.
At 31? Pretty crazy.
Yeah, that used to be like...
It used to be my number 1 in the first episode. Which I'm like, oh, it's kind of crazy. I don't think it was my number 1 by 50. I think Memories of Murder had hit there at that point. But yeah, I still think this is my favorite Star Wars movie. Even thinking about what comes after it, like looking at it as its own movie, I love everything that happens in it. Mm. I think it's easily the best looking of the three.
Oh, yeah.
And Rian Johnson really gets it. He really gets what I like about Star Wars and what, like, the mythos of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's one of those Star Wars movies that, like, it's that and Empire and Revenge that I can probably watch any day. But Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie. Still is. Yeah. I fucking love that movie. But not as much as I used to. Or I've just seen so many other movies that I think are better.
Yeah, it's definitely... I mean, obviously it's no fault of the movie its own, but, like, it's really hard for me to watch that one now just because it's like... just knowing what comes after it. But I kind of feel that way about, like... that is always in the back of my mind whenever I watch anything Star Wars now. Because I'm just like... So I do kind of, like, separate it in my mind when I do stuff. I'm like, there's the Lucas 6, and then there's this other stuff that is still its own thing, but, you know, I kind of have to... If I want the sanity of my brain to work, I need to kind of separate them in my mind. But that's just me. I try not to be toxic about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I also don't talk about Star Wars a whole lot.
Yeah, no, me neither. I got pretty tired of that. And it's hard working in a comic shop because I recommend Star Wars like books a lot because we have a Star Wars book section. And they're like, you have anything pre-Disney? I'm like, yes, here it is. And they're like, yeah, those buffoons.
No, there's some good stuff in current canon. Yeah. Like,
a lot of the books are great.
Yeah.
The Thrawn trilogy. That first Thrawn book's insane.
Yeah, that first Thrawn book was really good. I like the other two enough, but
nothing near that first, yeah.
My number 30 is Cure.
I need to rewatch Cure.
Yeah, so do I. I need to watch
You need to
everything by Kiyoshi Kurosawa.
What did he do? What was the one that I watched like a year ago?
Well, we both watched for the podcast Sweet Home.
But I watched... wasn't Shudder.
Was it Pulse?
Pulse, yeah.
Yeah.
Pulse fucking rules, dude. You would love Pulse.
I watched part of like the American remake they did when I was a kid.
Don't do that.
But, yeah, no, I... Did he do Shudder? Because I've seen...
No, I just... The naming convention of Pulse and Shudder.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
No, Shudder sucks also.
Yeah, I wasn't super crazy about Shudder. But
Cure? Fucking sick.
Yeah, no, I definitely need to watch more of this guy's filmography, because, yeah, holy shit, Cure was like... And parts of Sweet Home were also just like... But Cure all the way was very good. I highly recommend checking it out. It's about... It's like a noir movie about a detective trying to find a perhaps supernatural killer of sorts. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because... The way the movie unravels is really good.
Yeah. My number 30 is L'Ange, or The Angel, by Patrick Bukowski. Or Bokanowski? Bokanowski. It's from the 80s, 82. It's this, like, surreal experimental film where you see, like, this figure rising through a staircase interspliced between seemingly random scenes of, like, repetition or someone digging through a library of books, and it's extremely experimental. It's not for everyone, but it's something that's like lives in me. It's fantastic. It feels like transcendental, and it's like an hour and 6 minutes. So I highly recommend, if you like experimental cinema, to watch that one.
Yeah.
Not a lot to say about it, because it's mostly like you have to watch it.
Yeah. Right. My number 29 is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's a good movie. Jack Nicholson tries to avoid jail time by claiming himself as insane. So he ends up going to a psychiatric ward, which is run by a very evil nurse named Nurse Ratched. And yeah, he kind of, he's crude and he's very I'm trying to think of like the word for it. He's just very loud, boisterous, and
obnoxious.
Obnoxious, yes. But he kind of acts as he's kind of like the saving figure for a lot of these people who just don't have the confidence to stand up for themselves in this facility. And yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great book too. I love the book even more, but the movie's great.
Yeah, I haven't read the book. I do want to, though.
Yeah, it's a good read. Chief is much more of a prominent character in the book scene as he's the narrator of the book.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But yeah.
My 29 is another James Cameron movie. It's the Titanic, which is one I did not like as a kid.
Titanic?
Who would like Titanic as a child?
Why do I feel like I've been hearing a lot about that recently?
But, you know, for Valentine's Day, they re-released it in theaters, and it's gorgeous, and it's so well-paced, and the love story is fantastic in it.
Yeah, it's another one I need to rewatch.
It's one of those ones that it makes me feel like, wow, all the movies I thought were boring as a kid are probably incredible, and all the movies I liked as a kid are probably stupid and ugly. Except for School of Rock, you'll forever be incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, Titanic, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It's rules.
Yeah. I watched it once when I was a kid.
And then the action that does happen in it is awesome. Like, the actual, like, escape from the Titanic stuff is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I barely remember the movie. I remember, like, bits and pieces of it, but it's been so long, so I cannot gauge. My number 28 is Tokyo Godfathers. The great Satoshi Kon movie about basically 3 homeless people who find a baby in a dumpster on Christmas Eve and are trying to get it back to its parents. And it's just super great. It's probably like, I mean, I guess if you, aside from like Gremlins, it's probably like my favorite Christmas movie. So
many great Christmas movies.
Huh?
As in 2. I said so many great Christmas movies. 2 of them.
Yes. I'm not a huge fan of Christmas movies, but it was good.
Yeah. I agree. I really like that movie. My 28 is your 40-something. It's Secret Sunshine.
Yes.
Which, yes. Song Kang Ho in that movie is a smaller secondary character, but he's so good in that. And Jeon Do-yeon, the lady who's in it, I really want to watch more things with her in it. Because she's fantastic.
I agree.
Yeah, so we already talked about Secret Sunshine, but I think that movie's fucking incredible. And I've seen it a couple times, so. Because at that point, that was the only Lee Chang-dong movie I had seen.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That is my 28.
Right, my number 27 is Stuart Gordon's H.P. Lovecraft's Reanimator.
I thought you were going to say Stuart Little, too. Legitimately. I don't know why. In the back of my brain, I'm like, Stuart Little 2?
Yeah, it's the one where he gets his sister or whatever.
Yeah, he's got a car. Is it his girlfriend or?
No,
it's a bird.
They might
could be both, Barry Lyndon style or.
True. But yeah, Reanimator. This is the half zombie movie I was talking about because it's technically a zombie movie, but like I feel like
not really the focal point.
Yeah, even though it kind of is. So it's like 3/4 of a zombie movie. But yeah, this movie is just about a mad scientist named Herbert West who is trying to whip up a formula for a cure to death. And he's successful, kind of. He can bring people back from the dead if they're recently deceased. But something in the process keeps going terribly wrong, and they keep coming back as like these like raged out, like high on adrenaline, like don't feel pain, just like behemoth zombies that are very violent. And they keep causing issues every time he tries to bring someone back to life. And it ends up, like everything Stuart Gordon does, it's just a spiral. Like, once it starts, it just descends into madness. And I absolutely love shit like that. Yeah. So,
that's fair. I really like Reanimator. I think there's like 2 parts in it that are bad.
Yes.
And I don't think I like it as much as like From Beyond, but I really like that movie.
Yeah. This movie's got a 10-year like head start on From Beyond to me. So
no, that's fair.
That and I don't know. Herbert West is such a vibe.
I agree.
My number 27 is Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Yes.
Which, is an Alfonso Cuarón movie from the early 2000s with Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal about these two guys and an attractive older woman who embark on a road trip, and they just, they learn a lot about themselves, about sex, about love, about loneliness. It's amazing. Everyone I watched it with thought it sucked because everyone I watched it with is a child.
Liked it.
Sorry, everyone else.
Didn't we also watch it with Hannah? Didn't she like it?
Yeah, Hannah's cool. Okay. Everyone else.
Yeah. You can see Hannah in our Killer Joe and
Black.
Yeah, Blackjack.
Blackjack, yeah.
Movie. Yeah, the Ken Loach movie.
Yeah.
A weird combination of... That was back when we were doing the classic modern thing.
What the fuck was wrong with us? But yeah, I love the movie. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I really like road trip. I really like the idea of road trip movies. A lot of them are bad. This one's incredible.
Like that one movie where Seth Rogen goes on the road trip.
Guilt
with his
Trip?
mom.
That's pretty good. At least it's not terrible. At least from what I remember.
I watched it when it hit Redbox, like when it first came out, and I barely remember a thing about it.
That's better than it being terrible.
True. Yeah, it obviously wasn't bad, or else I would have definitely remembered more about it. All right. My number 26 is John Carpenter's The Thing.
John Wick 2. John Carpenter's The Thing. That is a good movie.
It is. I really don't have a whole lot to say about this one. It kind of speaks for itself. Everyone fucking loves this movie who's seen it. It's like a whodunit, but with a shape-shifting alien. And,
it's like Among Us.
Yeah, it's basically Among Us, but it was made in the 80s. It's great. Good. Check it out. Yeah, it's way better than
I realized that The Thing did not make my list. It's 71. See, I made this list. I'm like...
At least it's in your top 100.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
And, sometimes it's just like, how much do I think about a movie? But, yeah, that movie's awesome. My next one, 26, is one that didn't make your list. Vagabond by Agnes Varda. I have another Agnes Varda movie on my top 100, I think. I think I have The Gleaners and I. Or maybe that fell off, actually. What the heck? No, it's 66. But, Vagabond, it's so sad.
Yeah, tell me that Uncle Yonko didn't make your list.
That movie's awesome.
It is.
But no, it did not. Agnes Varda makes awesome movies. You should watch more of them. She dresses like a potato in some of them.
She does.
She's great. I love her. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace, my queen. But yeah, Vagabond's just about a lonely woman drifting through life, meeting some really interesting people that feel real. This movie really, really feels like reality.
Yeah.
And that's what makes everything in it so sad. And this character feels so likable, and so I understood her on a level that I don't think I've understood a lot of other characters. And then, it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
But I love that movie.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's phenomenal. It should have been on my list instead of Whiplash, but...
What's done is done.
Yes. It's cemented.
All right, top half. Go. 25.
25, kicking it off with my... Let me double check and make sure. Okay, yes. This is my favorite comedy of all time, and that is The Jerk with Steve Martin. So good.
It's very funny. I only watched it the one time because you recommended it, and I will say it's very funny.
Yeah, it's just a rags to riches back to rags story with Steve Martin.
That's exactly what you said in the first episode.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what it is. I don't know how else to describe it. But yeah, it's phenomenal. It's hilarious, and it's completely absurd.
This guy's trying to kill the paint can.
Yeah. This guy hates cans. Oh, he doesn't hate cans. He hates you.
It's so good.
Yeah. There's so many quotable lines, and it's hilarious, and it's also sweet. It's got a kind of sweet love story baked into it. It's nice. I love it.
My number 25, I almost just jumped ahead. My number 25 is the Satoshi Kon movie I have on the list, which is Paprika.
I still need to watch that one. I know.
You'd think after 5 years we would have watched each other's like favorites, but there's a bunch we haven't.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, we were too busy watching Full Moon.
Well, Full Moon is also... I don't have any Full Moon movies on here, but they're like...
it's so ingrained into the canon of our lives.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like its own realm of favorites for me. But it's just on a completely different level. So.
Yeah, it's like so good they can't be on the list.
Yes.
But yeah, Paprika's so good. It's like psychedelic. There's a machine that allows... It's like the therapist goes into their patient's dreams. It's so cool. I really want to rewatch it. I love that movie. It's awesome. It's gorgeous. I don't have a ton. I think I have 3 or 4 animated movies on here, but this one's gorgeous.
Yeah. I don't think I have.
Did I set any animated movies previous to this?
Not. I don't think so.
Avatar? No. Yeah, I have 3 then, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Tokyo Godfathers was the only thing animated to make it onto my list.
Wow.
I didn't put any One Piece movies on here.
That makes sense. Most of them aren't very good.
Yeah, I mean, even the ones I like aren't, like, on the level of, like, what I like from One Piece. So it's like, they have elements, but they're not the whole shebang.
That's fair.
Okay, let me see. Where were we at? All right, my number 24 is not what you think it is, but A Taxi Driver.
It's so good!
It is, dude. That movie is just on a completely different level.
It's probably my second favorite Song Kang Ho performance. Maybe third. But he's...
Looking at my list, yeah, I think technically it is for me as well.
But yeah, he's astonishing in that.
Yeah, because it's about just a taxi driver who kind of illegally enters a zoned off section that due to like student riots.
Yeah, there's the famous South Korean event. It's the Gwonju, I think, is riots.
Yeah.
And he's like, kids, they should be respectful. They should be happy they're in college. And then he actually sees this.
Yeah, because a journalist pays him to like cross over the line and take him in there so he can get footage and get this out to the world. And he risks it all, and he's very hesitant. But after seeing what's going on in there, it's like, fuck. And dude, the movie is phenomenal. It's got everything you could want from a movie. It's dramatic. It's based on a true story. It's got phenomenal acting, phenomenal characters. There's even some great action sequences in that. And some great like car chase stuff. Like it's everything you could want from a movie. Like it's phenomenal.
I agree. I love that movie. My 24 is Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria.
That was another one I cut from the list because it was just like, oh man, I haven't watched it in a few years, and I wasn't sure if it would make. I wasn't confident in the ability for it to make the list this time around, but I think it probably could. But yeah, super good.
I think I have the original Suspiria on my top 100, but I think as I rewatch them, they go up and down, but there's a lot more meat on the bones of the 2018 one, and I don't necessarily think horror movies, I don't think any movies necessarily need that. You know, I really like how concise the original is, and I like what they do with, the story and the characters, but it's a whole different beast for the 2018 one, so I do think they jump back and forth on which one I prefer, depending on my watch, but for now, I think it's the 2018 one.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Anyway, let's see. All right, my number 23, you already mentioned, Gremlins.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, phenomenal. It's just a fun movie. I love it.
Yeah, it's so good. But we've already mentioned it.
Yes.
My number 23, Houseu, which you recently watched.
Yes.
And I
just love that movie. It's so wacky and fun and depressing. Like, at its core, there's a lot of really deeply depressing things. Mm-hmm. It's about, like, you know, the expectation of people and how wartime trauma can affect the next generation. Mm-hmm. And how this trauma never really leaves you, and it can haunt the places that you've been to. It's got a lot going for it, to the point that, like, I do think it's a little disappointing that most people just view it as like, haha, funny Japanese movie, because it's at its core, it's got a lot to say. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that movie's plus it has cat. Cool cat, glowing eyes. It's got the skeleton that dances. It is a very funny Japanese movie, but it's also, got a lot going on its heart. In its heart.
I always think of the butt munch scene.
The butt munch scene, hell yeah.
22, Spider-Man 2.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
It's the best superhero movie. Holy shit.
Well,
it's one of the best superhero movies.
Yes. I might switch. Honestly, this might be my 21, because there's a different superhero movie in 21, but, like, they're really kind of, like, real close for me. But okay. I'm just going to leave Spider-Man 2 at 22 because of the 2.
Got Doc Ock.
Yeah. This movie is incredible. It builds upon the first one magnificently, and yeah, just the character work, and, like, it's probably, like, for me, a guy in his early 20s, the most relatable superhero movie, because this one's all about, like, Peter just trying and failing to balance his work and his personal life all together, and failing at it splendidly. But, you know, he comes through at the end, and it's well made superhero movie. Potentially one of the best superhero definitely one of the best superhero movies ever made. Potentially the best superhero ever made. Movie ever made.
You can talk. Language. I believe in you.
Yeah, you're going to see it later on for me.
Yeah.
My 22, kind of a different vibe, is David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, which, you know, I watched for the first time, and the second time, and a third time in a weekend. I just kept watching it. Mm-hmm. And that's still the only 3 times I've watched it.
Really?
Yeah. But, you know, the kind of movie that can do that is something. It's truly something. And, you know, it's so much fun to, like, think about and even watch. Like, moment to moment, it's really entertaining. And then it leaves you thinking a lot. And it's so fucking good. It's my favorite Lynch movie. Besides Dune, of course. No, I'm just kidding.
I can see why. It truly is phenomenal. I'm sad I had to cut it from the list, but realistically, it is on my top 50. It's just I couldn't find a good place to cram it and leave room for more shine for other things that weren't David Lynch movies.
That's fair.
But yeah. Okay, let's see. My number 21, Superman. That first Superman movie, just because I think not only is it so iconic, but it really, like, set the groundwork for every superhero movie. Like, we wouldn't have Spider-Man 2 if not for Richard Donner's Superman. Yeah. Because, I mean, like, literally Sam Raimi used, like, their blueprint of verisimilitude, which is basically, like, a fancy term of saying, like, in-world logic, so it doesn't have to be, like, realistic to our world, but as long as it functions in a sensible way within its own world's logic, then it works. And that's that was, like, the catchphrase of behind the scenes of Superman, and it echoed into, like, Spider-Man, and basically, like, I wish more superhero movies would try that these days. I'm hoping James Gunn is aware of that.
I believe in him.
Yeah. And I'm kind of excited. They announced the cast in the last couple of days.
It's the guy from Pearl.
Yeah.
He looks great. I'm excited.
Yeah, I watched a clip from him in a different show called, like, Hollywood or something, where he definitely had much more of a Clark Kent vibe going on in that. And Yeah.
Apparently in 2019 he had an interview being like, yeah, my dream is to be Superman. Like, that's so sick. And he's like, yeah, I like Man of Steel, okay, but I want the next Superman to be nice and uplifting and joyful. I'm like, yes! That's my Superman!
I feel that. But the thing is, you could find clips of Henry Cavill saying the exact same thing, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
you didn't give the man a chance. Well, you did, but you gave him a shitty chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm much more confident with James Gunn working, because I think he's directing that one. So it's like, it's probably going to be pretty good. I have more confidence, because, I mean, let's be honest, would the MCU even still be afloat if not for James Gunn? Probably not. Well,
especially now that there was like an interview coming out that he was like, yeah, at one point they were just like coming to me with like all the scripts, and I was just kind of like, maybe you should do this. He was just like making small notes. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Hopefully the DCU is the cinematic universe that we don't deserve, but that we need.
If we want, I'm okay with superhero movies, and DC they want to make that Swamp Thing movie, they want to make that Superman movie. I'm like, yes, but I just make them good, for fuck's sake.
Yes, please. Like, and God, please. A little setup or a little Easter egg is fine, but don't make it a cameo fest. It's not what anybody wants.
No, unfortunately, it's what a lot of people want, actually.
Well, fuck them.
Anyway, my number 21 is Denis Villeneuve's Incendie.
Yes.
Which is another downer. Man, you think about, why is London always so depressed? And it's like, well, 40% of your top list is just like, you want to feel like you're dead inside.
True.
But yeah, this one's about it sends a mother's dying, and it sends these twins back to the Middle East to like find the answer to like where their father is and what happened to them, and like what happened to their mother and why she was kind of distant from them and stuff. And it's so tragic and so good, and it's Villeneuve's best in my opinion. But yeah, love that movie.
I don't agree with that one statement you made, but it is a good movie.
It is the best?
Yeah, I've got a different one on my list further up. But
Dune.
Maybe. No, it's actually Arrival. No, just kidding. It's not.
It's actually the one about the school.
Oh, yes. All right. At my number 20, this is also one that you brought up earlier, but it's Rocky.
It's Rocky. Wow, that's high.
Yeah, because for years I was just like, yeah, Rocky's Rocky, whatever, and I didn't think about it because I watched them as a kid. But watching them for the podcast, it like reawoke the passion for Rocky in me. It's because it's got such a heart. Like, I think if like Rocky Balboa were in the One Piece universe, he would probably like beat the shit out of Luffy or something, because he's just got that much determination and heart. Like, it's so good. And the soundtrack by, I think Bill Conce is the name of the guy who does it. Like, the Rocky theme is iconic, but that, like, Going the Distance song and the final bell, oh my god, I listen to those all the time. They are so good. And just a movie about a guy who's had nothing in life, hasn't really strived for anything, and he's given an opportunity and he almost just completely squanders it, but like, people in his life who he thinks might be trying to take advantage of him are really trying to encourage him to like, it's like, you have a shot here, take it. And it's so wholesome. I love it. It's such a great movie. And like Apollo Creed, when he realizes Rocky's not like feigning,
not fucking around.
Oh dude, it's so good. I love it so much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, my number 20 is 1931's Taboo from F.W. Murnau.
Taboo is good.
Which, it's pretty crazy to have a mostly indigenous like cast, and nothing really feels, exploitative or gross. And it's just like a fun story, like a love story. There's a cool shark in it. And it's F.W. Murnau has made a couple movies that I really like, and the ones that I still really need to see Faust, and I still really need to see Nosferatu. But like Sunrise is gorgeous and great as well. But Taboo's my jam. That's my favorite.
Yeah, Taboo's a lot of fun. I really like it.
Got a lot of water-themed ones coming up. I just realized.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure that's got, like, a great shark scene in it.
Yeah. They said it has a cool shark.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he's like, yeah. He looks really goofy, but, like, in general, like, the underwater stuff is cool. And there's a lot of scenes on the water, and it's like, you made this 100 years ago or 90 years ago? Insane.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because on the water shooting is fucking...
It's hard now.
Yeah, it's difficult. But, alright. My number 19. So I've got a placeholder here for a trilogy. It's Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great starter piece to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I think it does a great job at pulling you in and getting you invested. And the Lord of the Rings is the Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'm not going to say anything we haven't said on the podcast before or that a million other people
Go
haven't
watch
said
our
before.
episode.
But Lord of the Rings is fucking based. I love it.
It's so good. It's my favorite Peter Jackson movie. We'll see if you still have something else on the list later on.
I've got something else on the list.
Lovely Bones yet again.
Dead Alive.
Meet
Dead
the
Alive.
Feebles. But yeah, no,
Bad taste.
it's classic.
Yeah.
My number 19 is Ringu,
Yes.
which, you know,
Good movie.
when I watched that, I sat there and I wrote like an essay about it. I loved it so much. The movies that I just like instantly, I'm like, I gotta write about this. I loved it. It's
Probably my favorite Japanese horror movie.
Yeah, it's...
I don't think there's anything else on the list above this.
Yeah, the only...
Honestly, it's in general one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, obviously, I've got Kira on here, but, yeah, the Ring is really good. I always think of that scene at the end where she, like, is in the well and you see the skull and it's got, like, the visible tears coming out of it. It's so good.
Yeah, that movie's incredible. You should go watch it if you haven't.
Yeah.
Thomas likes the remake. I do not.
I like the remake. I don't like it more than I like the original by any stretch, but I think it's...
If you've only seen the remake, do yourself a favor. Go watch the original.
Like, I feel the way about that remake that I feel about, like, Scenes from a Marriage, where I'm like, it works. Like, if... You know, I'm trying to show someone this movie and they absolutely just don't watch stuff not from America or not in English, then I guess I can recommend them this one and they can kind of get it and maybe be enticed to watch the original. But, like, obviously the original slaps harder. Like, it's just how it always goes. Typically. Okay. My number 18 is Charlie Kaufman classic, Being John Malkovich.
It's really good.
Yeah, this movie is just such a bizarre high concept idea. Just about a guy who works in this weird office where he finds behind a filing cabinet a little hallway that if you go down it, it takes you to this... I don't even know how to describe it. You just see outside of the eyes
You're
of
suddenly
John Malkovich.
in a flesh mech.
Yeah, you just experience what John Malkovich experiences for like 15 minutes and then it just chucks you onto the side of a highway. And he like starts a business. He starts letting people in for money. And Cameron Diaz plays his wife in it. And he's...
Who then slowly realizes that like she might be like a trans man because they're like, I don't feel comfortable unless I'm in like a man's body. Like, it's really interesting.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's just phenomenal, and it's a weird movie. It might honestly be I can't say it's the weirdest movie on my list, but
it's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah, he really is, but he's great.
Hoffman also has a way of making, like, I would say most of his movies are also, like, pretty accessible, like,
yeah,
in general. He has a certain, like, tone that he hits that makes it
I'd say at least his first half of the body of his work is very accessible.
I haven't seen most of his new
stuff once he starts directing becomes, I'd say, much less accessible to general audiences.
I haven't seen those, so I want to know. My number 18, let's do another water one, Lilo and Stitch. You know, I grew up in Hawaii. This movie means a lot to me, but I also just think this is the best Disney movie. It's gorgeous, and it's great. It's beautiful, and it's funny, and it cures my homesickness whenever I get super homesick. So, plus it has Stitch. Ulster, Bob, Ulster.
Played by Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah.
No, not yet. Not yet, at least.
Not yet.
I hope that you like walk away from that live action. You just actually like really fucking love it.
It's the best movie ever made. That'd be so great.
I mean, that's what you hope for out of any of them, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to be proven wrong whenever I'm like, this looks like dog shit.
yeah. Yeah, I feel that. All right. Let's see. Where am I? Number 17. Yojimbo.
Yo, Jimbo!
Yeah, by Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, this movie's just fucking solid.
This is the one with Tatsuya Nakadai, right? Is the gunslinger? Or no, who's the gunslinger?
Yes, yeah. yes. I think isn't he also in the sequel?
I don't remember. If I'm going to be honest, they kind of just blend into one for me. Because I've only seen them the once and I've watched them in quick succession.
Yeah. The sequel is the one where he trains all like the kids or whatever, all the students. But this is the one that's a fistful of dollars, where he...
It's just a fistful of dollars, but much, much better.
Yes, and it came first, so... But, yeah, it's just about, like a lone Ronin who kind of enters this town, and there's, like, two big factions that are, like, having, like, just wars that are scaring people away, and basically, like, this guy kind of just plays both sides and tries to, like, take the advantage, but... Turns out, oh no, there's someone kind of on his level who shows up, and he's got a gun, which is kind of hardcore for that period of history.
He made the first gun.
Right? Yeah, it's just a very solid samurai movie. I think out of Akira Kurosawa's samurai stuff, that one's probably my favorite.
That's fair. I really like that movie. Mm-hmm. My 17 is Trainspotting, which we've already covered. But yeah, the same thing came to me at a very vulnerable and malleable point in my life. And every time I've watched it, I watched it when I was a kid. And then I watched it when I was 20, which was like right after I had been into drugs and no longer in it. And now we're the same age as them, or just about. So it means a lot to me in a whole different way. Mm-hmm. But... yeah, Trainspotting is one that will continue to grow with me. And I think as I grow older, I'll also grow with Trainspotting too, because I'll get closer to their age then. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is my number 17.
I feel it. All right. My number 16 is Harakiri. And yeah, this one's fucking phenomenal. Probably my favorite samurai movie.
Yeah.
It's magnificent. It's about... Oh, God, how do I even fucking begin to explain this one? It's about a guy who basically goes in and... It's like a revenge story, but it doesn't, like, really start off that way. But then, like, he kind of is just a guy giving his life story, and... Oh man, by the end of it, like, you see what he goes through at the hands of, like, just, like, the samurai code and what, like, is expected of you and what, like, it might enforce upon you.
It's funny because, like, growing up, I'm like, samurai movies are probably cool, but all the best samurai movies are just so blatantly anti-samurai.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, this was the worst.
Yeah. No, I feel that. And it's like, it's not like the same thing we have over here with the Westerns, where it's like, you watch a Western and it's completely not self-aware.
Well, I think all the best Westerns are also like, this is the fucking worst. Yeah, the problem is all the popular ones are not like that.
But a lot of those Westerns came at, like, the later part of...
that's fair.
The Western filmmaking, like the neo-Westerns from, like, the 60s and 70s and onwards. Before that, it was all just like, yep, this is great. This is the frontier here.
I'm John Wayne.
Boop, boop. Yeah, John Wayne is like the poster child for that type of Western, and it's like, ugh.
Oh, Remember when we could go around and kill Indians for fun? Yeehaw!
Yeah. Remember when John Wayne got very pissed when Marlon Brando had that Native American woman accept his award? That was fun.
Remember when John Wayne fucking died? Got him, bitch.
Yeah, and they had to pull like a 50-pound turd out of his gut because he was like so congested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harakiri.
Yeah, Harakiri. Fantastic. Check it out, please.
My 16 is yet another entry from last year. It's Avatar 2, The Way of Water. And I think it just might be, the most gorgeous movie ever made. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, I can't comment on that yet.
And I love the characterization. I really, really love what they do with all the characters. And it's 3 hours long. It's like, I watched it 4 times in theaters. I was so fucking like, let's do it again! Because it just flies by at every moment. You're like, yes! And James Cameron's one of those filmmakers that he cares so much about his world that he's like, no, I want you to care about it too. So we're going to take 40 minutes to just live with these people. Live with this new culture that I'm establishing in this one. It's like, yes. And yeah, but it's also like, James Cameron's also a guy who loves like big dumb robots. And it's like, yes, he gets the sentimentality that I love and the dumb robot stuff I love. It's like the perfect blend.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of my favorite movies in recent years. If not, actually, I think this is maybe,
recent?
The most recent movie. Everything past this is from like 2004, 2010 or before.
Oh, okay.
So the last like 13 years.
Yeah, I've got a couple newer ones on here, but most of them are pretty old. But right.
That's my 16. Or 16? Yeah.
All right. My number 15 is David Lynch's The Elephant Man. Yeah.
I don't think this is made. It was 85 on my list.
Yeah. I just think it's phenomenal. I think it's his most grounded movie, for sure, and I think it really works because of that. But it still has its moments where it is like very abstract, and it just makes them hit that much harder. But yeah, I love everything about this movie. I think the character and the real life historical figure of John Merrick, very sad, and also very kind of interesting, but ultimately it's just like, god damn.
John Hurt's
incredible in this.
I know. He gives,
and it's so sad,
such a performance in it. Like the bathroom scene in the movie is really just something else. And fucking Anthony Hopkins also gives a stellar performance. And yeah, I love it. I love it. I don't know what else to say outside of that. And the fact that Mel Brooks produced it, and just saw Eraserhead in theaters and was like,
elephants.
That guy will make a good Elephant Man movie.
Yeah.
He was right. So, yeah, Elephant Man. Check it out, unless you don't like sad movies or black and white movies, in which case, don't check it out. You probably wouldn't like it. Yeah.
My number 15 is Phantom of the Paradise. Which, is Brian De Palma.
Yes.
Paul Williams score. Jessica Harper. William Finley. It's so good.
Yeah. No, it really is.
Garrett Graham. Yes. Is that what you said? I think. Oh, I think you said Garrett Grant.
Yeah.
So, close enough. Yeah, it's all the music in it is like one of my coworkers, Allison, also likes that movie a lot. So we'll just listen to the soundtrack at work sometimes. It's so good.
Yes.
It's got a great soundtrack and it looks great. And it's also like a weird fusion of like Faust and Phantom of the Opera.
And Picture of Dorian Gray.
And it does it all in like a really small runtime.
90 minutes, crisp.
Yeah, and it's just... I love it, and I think it's really fun. But
all obviously our tastes differ because like Hinata hated it.
Yeah, it seems to be one of those movies that like not a lot of people really know about, but like a lot of creatives do. Because I mean, Edgar Wright cites it as one of his favorite movies, but also it's like Marilyn Manson, Daft Punk, like they all clearly kind of take influence from it, and it's like, yeah, it's just one of those movies where it's just so fucking phenomenal. And even if like you hear it and you're like, the musicals, like,
nah, watch it. It's sick.
Check it out. Give it a chance. And get past that opening scene, because I'm sure that opening song probably would turn off a lot of people.
That opening song's so fucking good.
I agree, but I know a lot of people don't like that.
Born in Jesus City, started when he was 9.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's so good. And I wish that this song pops up into my head all the time, but it's not on the soundtrack, but it's the scene where he's going to meet Paul Williams' character, and it's like, I'm going on my way to meet the devil. And it's just like, why is that not on the soundtrack?
Yeah.
It's like the one track that's not. That, and I wish they had all those like round table auditions on there as well, because those are also really good. They're very brief, so I guess I could see why those aren't on there.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, Phantom of the Paradise.
Great. Rules. Yeah, that's my number 15.
My number 14 is Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. It's the only one I put on the list. There's a case for There Will Be Blood being around this same point, but I just wanted to pick one. Magnolia, I really like just because I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
How many characters are in that movie and how it
feels so defined.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't feel like it's too much. Like, it's great. The only scene, because I rewatched it somewhat recently, there's only one scene in the movie that kind of was like, this is a little corny, and that's the scene where they're all like singing the song, but it also kind of works in a weird way, but by modern standards,
I like it. A lot.
Yeah. I kind of go back and forth on that part, but it's a good movie. I love it.
It's so good. I still need to watch Licorice Pizza, and I still haven't seen Phantom Thread either.
Same. Yeah. I'm hoping... Oh, and I also need to see Animism?
Anima?
Yeah, that short he did.
It's good.
I'm sure it is.
My 14 is Ran.
Akira Kurosawa. We've already talked about it, but yeah, I like constantly recommend this to people. I'm like, you like samurai shit? Watch this. It's so good. Yeah. And it's so snappy and so much fun, and it's so brutal, and it shows like Akira Kurosawa was so good at ensemble staging where he would have like 60 people on screen, but they'd all feel like real people. It wouldn't just feel like a crowd. The way he staged them would be just so good. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, my number 13 is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Classic.
Yeah. Another Charlie Kaufman one with Michel Gondry directing.
That's my 77.
Nice. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I'm sure most of you probably know what this movie is. For those who don't know, it stars Jim Carrey and Kate
Winslet. From Avatar 2 fame.
Yes. But basically, it's about this couple that breaks up, and apparently in this world, there's like a technology where it's like, oh, you have a bad experience with this person, and it's like crippling you just because it's that, like, it's weighing on you that much. You can just erase them from your memory. So Jim Carrey's like, finds out he was erased from his ex-girlfriend's mind, so out of spite, he's like, I'm gonna do the same thing. And then he in his dreams is like one by one re-experiencing all these memories before they're deleted. And then he's like, wait, no, I don't actually want these to go. And he tries to stop it. And it's It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal movie. It's got everybody in it. I mean, baby Mark Ruffalo's in the movie. He's such a baby in that movie. He's so young compared to how I picture him now. But so good. So good.
My number 13 is Spider-Man 2. I
Classic.
like it. Doc Ock's incredible. It's the best villain that I think has been in a superhero movie. Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. And I love the MJ stuff. I think the Mary Jane stuff's awesome. And I really like his relationship with Harry in this. I think this movie just has so much unique charm to it that is missing from like every other superhero franchise and movie.
You mean like character?
Like character, yeah.
And
it feels unique, you know?
Yeah.
It feels like, yes, this is a Sam Raimi movie, and he wanted to make Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. I fucking love it. But we've already talked about it. But yes, I fucking love Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I feel. All right, my number 12 is Prisoners.
That's the one you went with. Okay. I was like, what, Blade Runner? Or?
Yeah, I think out of all of Denis' work, I think might have been Dune at one point, but reading the book of Dune and then watching the movie again, yeah, I mean, it happens, but I still love Dune the movie. I still think it's, like, phenomenal, and it's a great adaptation, but, like, it's very different from the book, and I just like what the book is way more. But Prisoners is, like, fantastic. The way that movie just, like, weaves it all together. It's another one that's just very concise with what it wants to show. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's what I like from Prisoners is like what people like from like David Fincher's work, but like done like 10 times better. Not to shit on Fincher, because I really like Fincher too, but it's just kind of how I feel about it. And yeah, I love it. I love Loki, Jake Gyllenhaal's character in the movie.
I forgot his name's Loki.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's a great movie. It's about Hugh Jackman's daughter is abducted by probably Paul Dano, but they can't they don't have any hard evidence to convict him, so it just ends up.
It's kind of like The Lovely Bones.
Kind of.
Which will be your next pick. My number 12 is Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain.
Yes.
Now that's a weird movie.
Yes. Yes, it is.
That's probably the weirdest movie on my list.
It's good, though.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part where the guy gets like plastered as like Jesus, and then there's like 100 of his plaster in this thing. There's a part where they have like lizards fighting frogs or something like that. Yeah. And they're all like in like centurion armor. The ending is amazing. Mm-hmm. And it's all about just like these, a Mexican master leads a Christ figure and other disciples to a mountain of immortal wise men. It's about, enlightenment and the quest for that, and how, like, no matter how powerful you are, you probably want to get this too, kind of thing. It's so good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really love that movie.
Yeah, it's good. Part of me wanted to put El Topo on the list, but, like, that one scene just breaks my brain. And it's like, I don't know how to feel about this. But the movie's still really good. But yeah. It's like, I haven't watched it since, because it's like, I don't think I can handle that. Because it's like, it would just drive me nuts. And it's like, god damn.
What scene for the audience?
So there's a scene in the movie, in El Topo, where he sexually assaults a woman in the desert. And I didn't realize this when we had watched the movie.
I told you.
But you told me on the podcast that apparently at like a point in the 80s, Jodorowsky claimed that
it was real.
That he really assaulted that woman on camera. And it's like, oh.
And then he said, ever since he said, no, I was just doing that. Is like a bit, as like a scandal.
But the thing is, like, nobody knows anything about that actress at all. And it's like, and even if there's like a slim possibility that is real, I can't watch that. Like, it just upsets me. So it's like, god damn. But I really liked that movie when we first watched it. It's like, oh, fuck. Why did you have to say that? Not you, but why did Jodorowsky have to say that? I mean, even if it was him just doing a bit, it's like, that's not funny. Why are you trying to be shocking? But yeah, anyway. Where were we?
That was my 12, I think? That was my 12.
Yeah. Right, my number 11. The cousin fucker himself, Barry Lyndon.
What a gorgeous movie.
Yeah, Barry Lyndon's one of the best looking movies to ever exist. It's got, I mean, fucking Kubrick, like, went to NASA to, like, create a camera lens that he could use to shoot for, like, low lighting. I mean, and the lighting in the movie is naturalistic. All the shots are, like, inspired by Renaissance paintings with the posing and the composition. And plus, it's just at the heart, just a good
family drama.
Yeah, it's a nice rags.
It's like The Jerk, but not funny. Actually,
It's pretty funny. But
not a straight comedy.
No, it's got a lot in there. But yeah, it's basically a lot like The Jerk, rags to riches to rags kind of a story.
The Jerk is actually a sequel to Barry Lyndon.
But yeah, it's just about an opportunist who eventually finds himself able to marry into this very rich family, and he basically like completely financially and emotionally ruins them. And yeah, it's great, but yeah, I don't know. Even Barry Lyndon as a character, he sounds like a straight up evil guy, but he's more nuanced than that. Yeah. It's really a great watch, and I'm sure most people who do listen to this podcast would not like the movie, but I think it's Kubrick's finest myself, so.
My number 11, School of Rock.
Nice.
It's just so much fun. Mm-hmm. Such a joyous experience. And I can like quote every single word from that movie. And Jack Black's just this legendary performer. Yeah. And all the kids in it are great. Mm-hmm. And it's just like all the songs in it are great. It makes me feel alive.
No, it's a great movie, and I'm glad that it's a movie that's like targeted at kids, because I think the messages that Jack Black kind of embodies in that movie are like good.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always think of that scene where it's like, you know, he's talking to the chubby girl, and he's like, What? You think they're gonna laugh at you? Aretha Franklin was fat. I'm fat.
Why don't you go on a diet? Because I like to eat.
Yeah. It's just like...
But like when Lawrence comes up, he's like, I can't be in a band. I'm not cool. People in bands are cool. He's like, I think you're cool.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, no, it's so...
When Zach's dad's mean to him, he's like, what do you do when you stand up to the bullies? Step out!
Yeah, dude, it's great. It's phenomenal. It'd probably be in my top 100, but it just couldn't crack my top 50.
That's fair.
All right. We're in
top 10.
Top 10. All right. We already talked about this one, but Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah.
Number 10.
Yeah.
Check it out. Please watch this movie. More people need to watch it. It's great.
My number 10 is also one we've talked about. Briefly, you mentioned Fellowship. My favorite is Return of the King. Mm-hmm. I love it as an ending. I love the 7 epilogues. The action is just insane. Most of the effects in it still hold up. Mm-hmm. Even the CG that doesn't hold up is fun. A lot of it is yeah, Legolas skating down a giant elephant. Cool. Yeah. There's so many just epic lines in it too that make you feel like, yes, let's fucking go. When Samwise is like, I can't carry the ring, but I can carry you. It's like, let's fucking go. Mm. It's one that just fills me with an energy that's like, yes, yes, yes. It's what I feel like, what people feel like at sports games. I feel when I watch Return of the King.
No, I feel that. Yeah, it definitely does spark those limbs. I get the same thing when I watch the first time I watched through One Piece, I was like, whenever it was like Luffy up against the big bad, it's always like, yeah, fuck, go, get him, stretch. But yeah, I feel it. Yeah, Return of the King is phenomenal. The whole trilogy is fucking top tier.
Yeah.
Like, they're all 10s. So
Yeah.
it's like, all right. Number 9. This one is a personal favorite for me. When I was 12, I literally had it memorized because when I was at school, I would get bored and I would be like, I'm going to get 90 minutes of school left. I'm going to just replay this movie in my head. And that movie is Fright Night by Tom Holland. Not Spider-Man, the Tom Holland who directed Fright Night and Child's Play.
Yeah, one of those movies is good.
I like both of them. So
I hate Child's Play.
we,
I want that to be a fact before this podcast ends. Just remember,
it's been a
I
fact.
hate Child's Play.
I don't know if it's been a fact since day one, but it's been a fact as long as you've been watching. Ever since you watched it, you were like, fuck that.
Fuck that. Fucking hate that bitch. I would take Chucky in a fight.
Maybe. But yeah, Fright Night. It's a movie about it's Rear Window with vampires.
Yeah.
Like, kid next door, Charlie Brewster, notices his new hot next door neighbor, Jerry Dandridge, is a vampire. He's killing women that he's seen on the news, and he's given an opportunity to let it slide, but instead he decides he needs to
Stand up for what's right.
and take out this vampire. And yeah, it's great. He goes, I think another big selling point of the movie is the fact that he goes to like washed up old vampire movie star / TV host Peter Vincent and tries to convince him that vampires are real and to help him on his conquest here. But it's a great movie. It's short. I think most people would like this movie if they gave it a chance.
Yeah, it's not on my top 100, but I think this movie rules.
Yeah. No, it probably wouldn't be on my top 100 if I just didn't watch it at such a young age
Yeah.
and fall in love with it.
That's fair.
But yeah, I love it. It's one of my faves.
And you know what? I really like the remake too.
Yeah, the remake is also very solid. I quite like it. David Tennant is in that one.
Yeah.
He plays Peter Vincent if Peter Vincent were like a Chris Angel type.
Which I think is a great idea for a remake.
Yeah, no, I agree.
My number 9 is Princess Mononoke. Which is my favorite animated film. Favorite Ghibli film. It's, it's so good.
This is very good.
It's the spirit of the forest. I really like, nature centered things. I really like the main characters in this. I love like the almost body horror of it because his arm's a demon arm now and he sees it's actively working against him. And then I remember seeing this as a kid being like, oh, this is gonna be a fun little cartoon. And then he shoots the bow and arrow and he shoots the guy's arms off and I was like,
Yeah.
because I did not watch a lot of like I didn't watch rated R movies or anything, so I watched that and I'm like,
Yeah.
and it was really, affecting. But yeah, the movie's great. I love it.
Yes. My number 9, my number 8
Oh, I'm like, what? Did I miss one?
is also a movie with nature and a demon arm.
Avatar 2? What?
Evil Dead 2. We already talked about it, but I don't have anything to add. It's just, I thought those little comparisons right there were pretty fun. Yeah, it's great. Love the whole trilogy. And honestly, yeah, the whole franchise. I really like. Even the remake, which I acknowledge isn't like the best, it's grown on me like a tumor. So, yeah.
My number 8. You knew it was coming. A Serbian film.
Hey.
I love the movie. I think it's great. And it's really hard to watch. It's despicable.
Yes.
And it's disturbing, but it's at its core, it's also deeply depressing. Kind of like me. But I think it's also really well made, and I really, really fucking like it. And I rewatch it more than I should.
Yeah.
Which is never, probably, for most people. Most people would say you should probably never rewatch that movie.
I think most people would go a step further than that.
You should never watch that movie.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor. Gather your family around. Make some apple strudel. Sit down by the campfire. And stream a Serbian film onto your Apple Watches.
Yeah.
Sure. I think it rules. I think it's really good. Yeah. You did too when you watched it.
You made a very compelling case for it, but as time has passed, I personally,
we'll rewatch it. Don't worry.
Maybe I don't know if I'm gunning to rewatch that one. All right, my number 7 is The Lovely Bones.
It's King Kong.
It is King Kong. I didn't even have to fucking correct myself. Yeah, I love King Kong. I've loved.
So Peter Jackson King Kong.
Yes. The 2005 one. Because, I grew up watching, like, the old King Kong, and this came out in theaters when I was, like, in the 3rd grade.
Hey, Dad, can we go? And your dad's like, it's 3 hours long.
Yeah, but he took me to see it, like, 4 times.
Wow.
We both really
That's like my Avatar 2.
Yeah.
So that went as an adult.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's... I mean, even when I watch it now, it makes me so sad because it's like, why couldn't you just leave him there?
Leave the nice monkey alone.
Like, why'd you have to drag him to New York and kill him? Like, he didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
And it's, but this one I like a lot more than I like any of the other versions, just simply because.
Me too.
Khan is way more of a character in this one. He's less, in the original, there is that sympathetic side to him, but he is still kind of just like a beast in that movie. And same with like the 70s one. But like this is the first one where it's like, oh wow, like they really went the extra mile to anthropomorphize him. Terrible at saying that word, but and Andy Serkis does a good job playing the Khan, and I love the rest of the cast as well. I mean, like, you got fucking Adrian Brody's Jack Driscoll. I think it's way better than being like the big souped up cleft chin strong type, and they have like the actor who kind of fills that role. Mm-hmm. But fucking Jack Black as Carl Denham is like really good,
brilliant.
Yeah, like. I almost wish they did a Son of Khan just so we could get more of Jack Black as Carl Denham. Because, And I like that this is the only movie where, like, they question it a little in the original. And, like, Son of Khan is all about, like, him kind of facing the consequences of that. But, like, they really, like, question the ethics of Carl Denham's character in this one. And, I think it's a great movie. The only caveat to it, the only thing I think is kind of a dud is they don't do anything with that one character who they build up a lot throughout that. Like
the one who's like a stowaway?
Yeah, like the Jimmy character or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, I like the stuff that's there, but it just doesn't, they don't do anything.
It feels like there's an hour missing in the movie. As in, I wish there was an hour more to the movie. I wish it was 4 hours long.
I agree. It feels like there's maybe like 10 minutes missing now because it's like fair. There's just no conclusion to that subplot. And it's like it's strange for how much screen time it does occupy. But aside from that, it's great. It's my personal favorite just due to the nostalgia. But I acknowledge Lord of the Rings is better than King Kong, but I like King Kong more.
That's fair. My number 7, we've already talked about. It's Before Sunrise. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. And, I think maybe in like 10 years, I might like Before Sunset. Like maybe it'll be the same thing where as I grow to be the characters' ages, I like them more and more. But, I'm now older than they were, which I don't like.
I don't like that either.
It's like, yikes. But there's something just so magical about Before Sunrise. So enchanting, and I could watch it anytime.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. We used to have an episode on the channel about it. I removed it.
Okay. All right.
But I'll review it eventually. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, there we go. All right. At number 6, I've got the one, the only, Eraserhead.
Never heard of it. No, I'm just
kidding. Yeah. This movie is surreal.
Yeah, it's got a goat baby.
It's about a guy who doesn't want to be a father, but has a deformed goat child that is very sick. And it's just kind of a surreal nightmare film based around that. And it's weird, and it's David Lynch on unfiltered full blast, and I love it.
I really love that movie too. It's probably my third favorite David Lynch movie. I think it's probably Mulholland Drive, then Elephant Man, then this, but I do really like Eraserhead.
Yeah. No, it's great. Pierre doesn't like it, but that's okay. Has Pierre even actually seen
I can't remember. I feel like I might actually like Wild at Heart more than this, but I like most of David Lynch's stuff quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd say
I'm not a huge fan of, what was it, Inland Empire?
Yeah, Inland Empire might
maybe
grow
on a
me.
rewatch. Yeah, I was going to say. Maybe.
I know I wasn't super crazy about Lost Highway when I first saw it, but I actually think about that one quite a lot. And thinking about it, I think it kind of is an important stepping stone for Lynch and what I like from his later work. So I think on a rewatch, I would probably very much appreciate Lost Highway a lot more than I did the first time. But yeah, Eraserhead.
That was your number...
That was my number 6.
My number 6, we've also already talked about Magnolia.
It's my favorite PTA. The way he weaves all these stories together is incredible to watch, and it's one of those movies that's over 3 hours, and it's just like you just kind of want more, and it flies by.
It really doesn't feel like it.
And what's his name? Philip
Seymour Hoffman?
No. Well, Philip Seymour Hoffman's awesome. No,
John
he's
C.
also
Reilly?
Philip Baker Hall.
Oh, Philip Baker Hall's good.
Is he in this one with Philip Seymour Hoffman? Is that?
Philip Baker Hall doesn't. He's not in that segment of the movie, but he's the TV host
That's right. He's great.
May or may not have done something awful to his daughter.
Just in general, all of the storylines are great. And it's like every time I rewatch it, I'm like, I've got to tell everyone about this right now.
Yeah, it's
one of those movies that I think everyone should watch. And PTA also has all of his movies I think are pretty watchable, but they're so well crafted. And this one's my favorite of his by far.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite films.
Yeah, I think the only really films that might struggle to find an audience from what I've seen. The Master, I could see a lot of people not really getting into.
Maybe Inherent Vice, actually, too.
Yeah, Inherent Vice is another one that I could see a lot of people... I mean, obviously, a lot of people did not like Inherent Vice. Yeah. I saw it in theaters, and I liked it back then. I haven't seen it since. But I always think of the scene where Josh Brolin eats the weed, and it makes me happy. So very happy. But, yeah. Yeah. Fucking Magnolia is great. All right, my number 5. This was
top 5. Here we go.
This was my go-to for my number 1. Just not necessarily it was my number 1, but whenever somebody asked me, it's like, "What's your favorite movie?" I would always just say this one because, because it's just such a classic, and I do love it. And I
didn't actually say it out loud. Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes, Little Shop of Horrors, the Frank Oz version from 1986, not the original Roger Corman one. I know, but the Roger Corman one's bad. Someone had to say it.
I don't think Little Shop... I love Little Shop. I don't think it made my top 100. It was really close, though.
Yeah, that's just... I love it. I love the cast. I love the music. The special effects. Oh my fucking god.
I'm a plant.
Yeah, and having that director's cut now available and full... Because when I was a kid... I discovered the director's cut on YouTube in 3 parts, and it was in black and white, and it looked like shit. But I remember finding that, and I was like, that's really Rick Moranis? This is, what? No! What? I had no idea it existed, and I didn't know the history behind it. I just found it, and I was like, what is this? And then years later, they released that Blu-ray that had that version completely remastered on it. I remember watching it for the first time and being like, oh man, that was good. Because that ending sequence that most people, I'm sure like a lot of people have seen it now because it's been available for like probably like 10 years now in HD. But like for the longest time, most people only knew the theatrical ending. But like just the amount of fucking special effects and all of that just was on the cutting room floor for so many years. Such a waste. I'm so glad that it's like back out into the open again. But yeah, it's great. I love it. And I like both endings too. I like the director's cut more a little bit, but the theatrical ending's classic. I grew up with it. Mm-hmm. It's happy. The happy ending or the sad ending? Which one do you want?
Depending on the day, yeah.
Yeah.
My number 5, we watched on the podcast pretty early, Scenes from a Marriage. The Bergman one and the TV cut, which is 5 hours as opposed to the 3-hour theatrical.
Yes.
Which I still haven't seen, and I don't really want to.
I never plan to.
5 episodes of a marriage devolving into chaos and sadness. Both the characters are just horrendous at times. One's more horrendous. But it's magical to watch.
It really is.
And it feels like a harsh reflection on Bergman's maybe own life, or at least the things he's seen around his life, and it's so enchanting. And I watched it in one sitting, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It was a while ago, but it was so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And the other TV show, the other miniseries he did, Fanny and Alexander, is also good.
Yeah, I agree. I do really like that one, although I think it lacks the kind of like focus that Scenes from a Marriage had. Fair. But it is a very good one as well. Lot of Alexander. Little no Fanny though.
Alexander featuring Fanny.
Yeah.
I think that's what I said on the podcast.
Fucking pretty much, yeah. Because she's such a non-character. Like, she literally does nothing.
Yeah.
But titular character, though. Alright. My number 4. This is the one that I assume that, like, aside from, like, one of my top 4, we're probably going to talk about the same movies. But my number 4 is Memories of Murder. Because, I mean, yeah, it's so fucking good. I mean, that one's just, for those who don't really know what that one's about, basically, like, South Korea in the 80s had, like, kind of their equivalent of, like, a Zodiac killer, just this guy who would murder women wearing red every time it rained. And this movie is about, like, some cop, like, who are trying to, like, stop him and arrest him and stuff. And one comes from, like, the big city to the smaller area and is, like, kind of, like, sure of himself and is like, oh, I'm totally gonna figure it out, as opposed to, like, the small town, like, kind of rough around the edges, to say the least, police crew, because, I mean, there's a lot of police brutality that occurs in the movie, but, like, they still are kind of likable. Like, I love Song Kang-ho's, like, I can just, like, look into somebody's eyes and I know the truth, and how that all culminates in that climactic scene right there towards the end is, like, I mean, that scene is, I mean, the stuff that, like, movie dreams are made of.
Like, I love Parasite, and it's a great entry point for people, because I'm like, hey, have you seen this Oscar winner? You need to go watch Memories of Murder then, because it's even better.
Yeah, I agree. Parasite was also kind of a runner-up for the list, but
I think it might be my top 100. I love Parasite.
Yeah, it'd probably be my top 100 too.
Like, honestly, there were like 4 Bong Joon-ho movies that were like close to being my top 100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I feel it. But
yeah, Memories of Murder.
Yeah, Memories of Murder fucking slaps. Yeah. It's so good. Check it out, please. I beg you.
My number 4, you've already mentioned, it's Harakiri. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
It's so good. You gotta watch it. It's astonishing. And Tatsuya Nakadai's insane. Yeah. He's so good in it. Yeah, that's my 4.
My number 3, you just mentioned not too long ago, which was Scenes from a Marriage. The Ingmar Bergman version, of course. I mean, yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, probably like out of everything on my list, probably like the most personal feeling movie, just because like, I mean, you really get to know these people and their like life, and even though you don't like on the whole scale, because I mean, they have children and you never even fucking see them in the movie, which I think is good. Like, I like that decision, but it's just like, yeah, just learning so much about like these two characters and like what they're going through and what their like thought processes are like during this and why they feel the way they do, and you know, their copes and their excuses and their wants and desires and how just everything kind of conflicts with each other. I don't know. It's such a fucking human movie. And really, like, even if like you're not into like, oh, this movie is like about like a fucking 5-hour messy breakup, it's like, ugh. I know that that's off-putting to a lot of people, but honestly, like, the nuggets of like wisdom and philosophy beyond just like relationship stuff in the movie is like fucking phenomenal, because it really kind of tries to tap at like the heart of human nature. But yeah, it's great, and I highly recommend people check it out. Or if you're too intimidated by a 5.5 hour Swedish movie, check out the HBO version. It's good. Yeah.
It's not as good, but it's also very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. I mean,
yeah. My number 3 is Sidney Lumet's 12 Angry Men.
Yes.
Which I just think is maybe the most rewatchable movie on this list. It's so much fun to watch, and it's so tight, and the performances are great. And I love one scene, like one setting places. They're just in the jury room. It's so good. And Henry Fonda's just like, yep, you're incredible.
Yeah.
And there are quite a few Sidney Lumet movies that I like a lot, but 12 Angry Men just stands above them for me. And yeah, it's invigorating.
It is very, very good. I did quite like it.
But that's my number 3.
All right. My number 2 is a trilogy. The Human Condition trilogy. We watched this fairly recently on the podcast, and we both absolutely loved it. It was phenomenal. I have a gut feeling this is about to pop up on your list here pretty soon, so I'm not going to dive into specifics just yet. But it's great.
My number 2 was my number 1 for a long time, which is Memories of Murder.
Ah, yes.
I love that movie. It's phenomenal. It's, it got me into movies. Like, it's really one of the ones that I'm like, wow, this is what a movie can be.
But we already talked about it. But yeah, it'll forever have, like, even though it's no longer my favorite movie, it's gonna live in my heart forever. Like how Thomas will live in my heart forever, even when Screenweens is dead and in the ground.
Good thing podcasts don't go into the ground.
They go up into the sky. The sky ground.
The clouds.
That's like the ground.
Yeah,
but
kind
for
of.
Flying people.
It's the ground, but it's the ground up there, you know?
Alright, Thomas, what the fuck is your number 1?
Alright, my number 1...
Lovely Bones. No.
Not the best movie on this list, but it's also a placeholder for a trilogy just because I go back and forth between these 3 so much. But these movies really do mean a lot to me. And that is, I've got Dawn of the Dead on here.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. The George A. Romero trilogy really kind of like opened my eyes to like the filmmaking bug. It's what made me want to be a filmmaker when I was a kid. Because I'm going to get into a little bit of a backstory here. When I was a kid, my dad worked a lot of late nights, but he would always stop by Hollywood Video on his way home, and I'd wake up in the morning and there would be like a Freddy or a Jason movie like just sitting outside of my door. You know, they're happy childhood memories I have. And I remember one morning I go out there and I see this big double tape of Night of the Living Dead just like sitting on. It wasn't in front of my door, like it wasn't intended for me, but it was over by the TV, and it caught my attention because I hadn't really watched that many zombie movies at this point. Might have been my first zombie movie, actually. But I remember like looking at it and being like, oh, and like my dad was asleep, but I went in there. I was like, hey, can I watch this? And he's like, yeah, like because there was some stuff at that point because I was only like kindergarten, first grade. So
when I imagine you like the George Lopez show, where it's like a little body, like a little kid body, and Tom is like, hey, can I watch this?
Yeah, pretty much. But and I remember watching Night of the Living Dead, and I loved it, and that was the only one I had seen for years. But when I got like to be about 10 years old, they had recorded it on beta back in the day, but my dad was like, I can like hook it up to the VCR and like record it onto a blank tape for you. So I ended up getting Dawn of the Dead on a blank tape, and I watched the shit out of it. And eventually I bought the Ultimate Collection, which comes with the theatrical cut, the extended cut, the European cut, and then a 4th disc, which has like a bunch of documentaries with like behind the scenes stuff. And it was that like, I was like, this looks fun, because they would just go and shoot in the mall at night, and they had all just... So George A. Romero he's not like the type of filmmaker that we talk about a lot on this show, or that we appreciate a lot on this show, where it's like, oh, I'm making like 5-star cinema. Yeah. He was very like, I'm gonna like just have a bunch of locals in my movie from Pittsburgh, and we're gonna just like shoot as much footage as we can. We're gonna try to make it work in the editing room, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. Like there's pie fights with zombies and stuff. Like it's just a blast. And it really just kind of awoken that in me. And then shortly after, I got Day of the Dead, and I love that one too. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead was the one that really like hit home for me. So I think it as my number 1 spot on my list is appropriate. Because it's one of those movies that I can put on at any time and just get sucked into. I love it so much.
Thank you for sharing that story.
Of course.
But yes, my number 1 is the Human Condition trilogy.
Yes.
I think watching that movie... Growing up, I didn't have as much of a connection to movies as you. I put them on, I liked movies. And a lot of these movies, like School of Rock, Lilo and Stitch, like they meant a lot to me. But it wasn't really until I moved here that I was into movies. I moved here and I made the conscious decision. I'm like, I'm going to get into movies. Because when I moved from Hawaii to here, I sold off all my board games. I sold off all my video games because shipping from an island, insane.
Yeah.
Wasn't worth it. So I'm like, well, what can I do without like console, without stuff? And I'm like, I'm going to get into movies. So like I watched King Kong for the first time when I moved here. I watched
the original? Or
the Peter Jackson one, yeah. And I watched a bunch of stuff. But then, like, I started working at the theater. And me and you talking really got me into a lot of movies. Because not just movies, we were into other things. Like, we were both really big into mountain goats. And we had a similar sense of humor. And then we started making videos. We started doing the podcast. And then... ever since then, it's just been building on like these movies we've explored together. And I think that's really culminated in something like the Human Condition trilogy, because it's something that's like, it meant so much to me, but talking to you and feeling that it meant so much to you too, it really affected me that way too. Because it's like, I've now connected with someone on like a different level through art, and that's what art should do. And it's, the Human Condition trilogy is so fucking bleak and sad. It's about a man who is theoretically a good person who is stripped away of everything that makes him good through the horrors of war. And it's obvious that, like, the director of this, his life was similar to the writer of the original novel, and they connected through that. And at the core of this movie, it's really all about how human connection can make us better. So I think that just really meant a lot to me. And connecting with you through that. And throughout the years. I really think that if I had watched this by myself 5 years ago, I would have loved it. But having this journey with you for 5 years and then watching it at the end of this, I think it amplified my enjoyment, my love for it even more.
I agree.
That is my number one. And if I were to pick, I'd do probably like the third one the best.
Yeah, I think I like the first one the best because as like an independent movie, I think it works really well.
Yeah.
Kind of by itself. Like, you don't have to watch the other two, but obviously.
You should.
Yeah, they're great. And they build upon it, and it's like so phenomenal. And I mean, I think it's two that has like one of my favorite moments throughout the entire trilogy, which is the part where he's like in the storeroom with his wife, and he's like, I have to commit you to my memory, because...
Yeah.
It's...
But then the third one, there's the altercation he has with these prison guards, and they can't understand him, and he knows that, and he sits down, and it's like a solo light on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, these movies are so good, but so sad.
But yeah, that's our top 50 each.
Yeah?
Yeah. Before we go, I want to go through our top 15 from original real quick.
Yeah.
And see what's still there. So here's your original. Number 15 was The Thing, which is still on your list.
Yeah.
Number 14 is Gremlins, still on your list. Fright Night? Yep. Phantom of the Paradise? Yep. Barry Lyndon? Yep. Evil Dead 2? Yep. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? Yep. The Jerk? Yep. Ready for this one? Clerks.
You know, it crossed my mind this time because I mean, like, Clerks is like the last at least 7 years of my life just working like shitty customer service jobs, so it's like really relatable in that sense. But yeah, it's one that's, I mean, Kevin Smith hasn't aged well for me, at least, because I used to love all those View Askew movies when I was like 12. But now that I'm a little older, because that was another one that like also kind of, because like hearing Kevin Smith's behind the scenes for Clerk also kind of like
No, and I get that.
inspired.
And even though when I watched Clerks I didn't like it, that first one, like, I get it. I get why people like it. Clerks 2, not so much, but...
Yeah. No, definitely. Clerks 2, I haven't rewatched any time recently, but I can tell it's like, oh, yeah, that one's not working on the same level that the first one was.
And then you had King Kong next, which you still have. The Lobster, which you still have. Then you had End of Evangelion, which I was like, well, if he's going to put an animated movie, it'd probably still be that one. And I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard you talk about it since that day.
Yeah, I haven't watched any Ava since like around before the time we started the podcast, so I'm not sure how I feel about it.
It's probably not as good as Gunbuster.
No, now that I've seen stuff like Zeta Gundam, I feel like I would go back and watch Ava and feel that a lot of the things that I thought were unique in it are maybe a little redundant now, but I'm definitely still interested to check it out again. And
then you had Eraserhead, Dawn of the Dead, and Little Shop of Horrors. So, only two different. And I only have one different. I have two different. I have Sing Street, which is not on there anymore. There Will Be Blood, which that was on there, yeah. And then Spider-Man 2, Return of the King, SLC Punk, Lilo and Stitch, Train Spotting, 12 Angry Men, The Killing. And then this time, originally I had Suspiria, the original, on the list. And now it's kind of switched. And then I had Phantom of the Paradise, The Holy Mountain, a Serbian film, Memories of Murder, and The Last Jedi was number one.
Yeah.
Which is funny. One funny thing is 12 Angry Men and a Serbian film have switched spots.
Yeah. Interesting.
But, yeah, a lot of the favorites I had 5 years ago are still favorites, but they've just moved on the list.
Yeah, I feel that.
But, yeah, like, I hadn't seen Harakiri yet.
True.
I hadn't seen Scenes of a Marriage. I hadn't seen The Human Condition. A ton of my top movies I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have seen them without you.
Yeah, likewise. You've introduced me to a ton of great stuff that I would have otherwise probably never even fucking watched. Like Rudderless.
The Watermelon Woman.
Or what? Yeah. I might have gotten around, because Watermelon Woman was on my watch list.
We're losing ground. That might...
Yeah.
Because I don't think you had even heard of that one, or what?
I might have checked that out just simply due to the fact that Dwayne Jones was in it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But, yeah, because I think shortly before we did that, we also did the Ganja and Hess episode.
Yeah, because we were doing like a Black History Month thing.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, like... Yeah, there are tons of movies I probably would have never even thought about touching had you not, like, brought them to my attention. And even stuff that, like, didn't, like, leave, like, the deepest impact with me. Like, I think of stuff like, oh, man, I just had the title of it. Now it's gone. What's that one movie you watched that was, like, about the punk rocker who got, like, hit by the car?
Bomb City?
Bomb City, yeah. Like, stuff like that where it's, like...
Even, like... And, yeah, like, stuff that, like, maybe wasn't in our top 10 or bottom 10, but were just good or fun. Like, Night of the Comet, I don't think it was great, but I probably wouldn't have watched that, and that's fun.
Yeah, no, it is a fun one.
We watched 540 movies or something like that. It's a lot of movies.
Desert Hearts is another one.
Desert Hearts, I loved that. Was that your pick? I don't even remember.
It was. I picked that and Carol, I think.
Which I also loved. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading The Price of Salt, which is what Carol is based off of, and I was like, oh, yeah. Check it out.
But, yeah. So many adventures we've had together.
I know.
And we'll just continue on in another adventure.
Yeah. I mean, it's perhaps the end of this for now, but, you know, it's not the end of the channel. We're both planning on making content, and we're both still going to hang out. We've talked about maybe doing just, like, instead of podcast-like reviews, maybe going back to kind of, like, our original Infinity Wars kind of style, where maybe we'll... I mean, it'd basically be the podcast, just more like one movie focused, I guess, perhaps. Yeah. More spaced out, but yeah, we'll definitely still do stuff.
We will persevere.
But yeah.
Thank you for everyone for watching and listening.
Thank you, grandmas. Thank your mailmen. Your mail carriers.
Thank your principal.
Yes.
Thank your vice principal.
Thank you, Markiplier.
Thank your school treasurer.
Yes.
But
yeah,
you should go watch some movies, because we're not gonna.
Definitely not. And you know what? I heard that maybe some other people are starting podcasts now. We might not be the only one out there anymore.
We're gonna let the secret go that we're not the only podcast.
Wait, we're not? I thought we were.
Thomas, I'm telling you this secret now too.
Oh no. I thought we were the only podcast this whole time.
I was telling my mom, yeah, go listen to our podcast. It's the only one.
Yeah, you can't listen to any other podcast.
You go to the all the podcast like companies, they just do Screenweens.
Yeah. Any podcast that you think isn't Screenweens up to this point has been Screenweens, but they just don't.
We were just voices.
Yeah, we were just pretending to like
it's called acting.
Like I was Joe Rogan this whole time, but nobody noticed.
We know. We knew. Yeah. We knew. We could tell.
Well, it's the height, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm wearing this hat to cover my bald.
Well, I just assumed it was kind of like a Voldemort situation in the first Harry Potter, and Joe Rogan's on the back of your head.
Back of my head. Yes, of course. But yeah, thank you all for sharing this journey with us. It's been a good 5 years, and here's hoping that even though the 5 years coming up won't be as
won't be the same.
It won't be the same. Here's hoping that they're still good.
Goodbye.